Hello, you guys. It is a miracle I'm on time. I'm actually 1 minute early. I know you guys are shocked. It's rare that I schedule a live and I actually show up for my own live on time. Granted, I did move the time of this live, so I don't know how much credit I can really truly give myself for being on time, but I'm going to give myself a lot of credit nevertheless. So, first of all, let's start this live out on a positive note because you know that this is a heavy topic. I do want to open up a panel. I think I want to do it like one person by one person just because of the nature of this topic. So if people want to come up, that's fine, but I'm only going to talk to one person at a time. And I'm going to try to limit my conversations with each person to like at most 10 minutes. Okay. So, oh, I don't know if that's wrong. So, first of all, let's say this. I think the first thing that's really important to say, where did Charze go? I think oh, sorry, Charze. Didn't mean to do that to you. So I think the first thing that's really important to say is an update on Sheila, because I know a lot of you guys are wondering. So she gave me a call. Um, there were a few questions you guys had. Number one, you wanted to know how much money you ladies had raised for all of her. When I spoke to her this morning, she said that she had gotten in excess of $2,000, so around $2,000. Um, she said that it was very inspirational because she was actually at the hospital to the nurses and the doctors that were there, and that even some of them, or I think at least one of them, donated to her, and then they also got her in for a procedure that they didn't think they'd be able to get her in for, but they were all just so motivated by what was going on with her that she was able to get in for that procedure early. She has surgery on Tuesday. So she's getting her double mastectomy on Tuesday. And she said that she was very overwhelmed with everybody's kindness, that she doesn't normally ask people for things, which is one of the things I know about her. Like I said, it took her a lot of humbling to make that request. That was, I know, a hard thing for her to do because she's so used to taking care of herself. You know how us women are, especially us mothers. We're so used to taking care of ourselves. So, just on a positive note, she is just overwhelmed and she's really happy. And she didn't want to snivel and cry on the phone. She's like, she doesn't like crying in front of people. Um, But when she's better, obviously it's got to be after her double mastectomy. You guys pray for her. She's getting a double mastectomy on Tuesday. And so just pray that that surgery goes well, that she heals fine after it. And when, her health is in a better place, she said she definitely wanted to come through and thank everybody in person. Like she wants to do that herself. But I think right now she's just mentally preparing for the loss of both of her breasts. So that's where we are with that. And I think because this is such a heavy conversation, right? Since this is can I not be tongue tied? Since this is such a heavy conversation, I think it is good that we start off with something super positive. So there are a lot of dramatics. I'm going to be honest. And let me throw it out there for those who don't know, I am pro-life, okay? But I think there are a lot of dramatics surrounding, you know, this overturning of Roe versus Wade. There are three things I really want to make clear. You may understand them, but many people don't. Number one, this does not make abortion illegal. I really want to clarify that. There are a lot of people running around like women no longer will be able to have abortions. And the overturning of Roe versus Wade is in no way, shape, or form making abortion illegal. Number two, the power for regulating abortions will go to the states. And there's going to be a range of things that can happen. There are going to be some states where abortion will be absolutely illegal, period. But I think something we also need to realize is that there are going to be other states where abortion is going to be very legal, even late term abortions, meaning where you have a 9-month-old baby, a 7-month-old baby, a 6-month-old baby, and that woman can abort her baby. So some states, there will be no abortion. Other states, people will be aborting, fully grown, fully developed babies that could live outside of the womb. This also means that the states can decide what happens to a baby that is aborted, but the abortion's not successful. So sometimes, especially with abortions that come later, you have babies that are born alive. So the mother wants to abort them, but the abortion is not successful. The child isn't murdered in the womb. The child comes out and the child is still alive. And that means that the states are going to be able to decide, well, if the child comes out alive, do we keep the child alive now that it's been born, or are we allowed to kill the child because, it would have been aborted? Because the stipulation right now with abortions is that the child must be killed while it is still in the womb. If you deliver the head of a living child, then you cannot kill the child. That is the current law. So it's important that we understand, number one, Roe versus Wade being overturned does not make abortions illegal. Number two, there will be states where there will be no abortion, and there will be states where abortion can be done until you are ready to give birth. There could be states where children who are born alive could be killed because they were meant to be aborted. It will be for each individual state to make laws for their state. The power is going into the hands of the state. So those are the things that I want to bring to the table for conversation. Now, I'm going to put the link in the chat. Like I said, I think I can pin this to the chat. But like I was saying, for me, Faith said, I think pro-choice people are a little too eccentric because who's out there birthing 7-month-old fetuses or 9-month-old fully formed fetuses? Well, this is what I'll say. More people than you would think. And I think, in honesty, Faith, there are late-term abortions. It was a problem, and that's why they had to pass laws against it. There are living people today who lived through abortions. Let me repeat that. There are adults who give pro-life talks who are babies, who were once babies that survived abortion attempts. So it's not as uncommon as you would think. What I will say is, it is no more a scare tactic than the pro-life or the pro-choice people talking about, women being forced to give birth to babies of their rapists, right? That's a very tiny, teeny, tiny, even according to Planned Parenthood, it's like 1% of abortions are from rape. So I think if we can talk about the 1% of abortions from rape, then I think it's perfectly fair to talk about the percentage of abortions that's higher than 1%, right? That are done late term, or people who survive being attempts to abort them. Because there are, like I said, living people who survived abortion attempts. I'm not making that up. That's a real thing. And when we're talking about these conversations, me personally, I think all of that is relevant. I think it's relevant to talk about people who have been raped, women who have been raped. I think it's relevant to talk about late term abortion. I don't think either topic is not worth talking about. I think they're both important. So let's see. Marie said, I'm all for the overturn. It's a long time coming. Roe shouldn't have been placed in the first place. It's unconstitutional and has always belonged in state jurisdiction. Thank you. I think that that's a separate conversation, right? The Supreme Court, first of all, the leak was messy. Whoever leaked the documents, I don't know if they've caught that person yet, but that person's going to prison. Believe that. That person is going to prison. But the Supreme Court should have never ruled on the case. The power should have always been in the hand of the states. And whether you are pro-abortion or pro-life, we should all agree that the states should have always had that power. It should have never been the Supreme Court. It should never have been the Supreme Court. No, abortion wasn't overturned. People can still get abortions. Abortion wasn't overturned. Nigel said abortion was overturned. No, abortion was not overturned. K Universe said, is it a scare tactic to say that maternal deaths increase when abortion is illegal? Yes, it is a scare tactic. In fact, before abortions were made legal, the year before, right, abortions were made legal, there were less than 300 deaths from abortions. After abortions were made legal, we saw that number go up into around 1,500, right? In a year's time. Now, it's important to say that people who perform abortions do not have to report when somebody dies. So even the numbers we have now, which are per capita higher, we don't know that those numbers are accurate because they don't have to report how many people die. They do not have to report how many people have complications. They do not have to report how many abortions they do either. Something that I think, even if you're pro-choice, something that I think both pro-life and pro-choice people can agree on, right, is that if the states have control, they can put in more regulations. So even a state that has abortions, they can require accounting of the abortions. They can require that people who perform abortions say, how many deaths they have and how many complications they have. I think abortions can be more regulated in the states that keep them with this overturning of Roe versus Wade. So I think people who are pro-abortion, they view it as, oh my gosh, women are going to be dying in the streets. But the reality is more women started dying after, right, than before. Now, this could be because the more women that get abortions, the more women that are likely to die from an abortion. But you have to remember that most people performing abortions before it was legal were licensed medical professionals. They were regular doctors who simply performed abortions. They just didn't advertise it. So, um, even if you are on the pro choice side of things, I think it's very important that you understand that even if your state continues to do abortions, that means that your state can regulate and keep track of who's being harmed, if women are dying, how many abortions can be performed. Your state will now have the power to put some regulations. And if you're truly, pro-choice and you care about women's health, then you will actually approve of this overturning. It will make abortions likely more transparent, right? It'll be possible for the states to make abortions likely more transparent. And if you are pro-life, I am personally pro-life, then it makes me happy that there will be many states where abortion will be illegal. And these are children that will be able to live. You guys, there is a hummingbird outside of my window. I am not even kidding. This is crazy. He's flying under my pergola outside of my. Okay, let me be quiet. That was a sidetrack. But yes, it was a scare tactic. They act like people are going to be, women are going to be dying in the streets. And it's just, you know what? It's insulting to women, honestly, for them to even pretend like so many women are just obsessed with getting abortions that there would be so many women getting abortions that there would just be dead female bodies in the street. It's like, what do you think of women? You think women are just so thrilled to go get an abortion that there would be so many of us just dropping dead in the street? And number two, literally the year before abortions became legal, there were less than 300 deaths. So that's not exactly walking over dead bodies in the street of women, right? Let's see. Black Bambi said, I'm okay with it being overturned. We have many birth control options. Oh, I don't know if he is, but I don't want to say anybody's passed away if they haven't passed away. Quester said, the only thing the court is saying is that it is not a constitutional issue. People are getting unhinged for no reason. I'm glad you understand what they are saying. Yes, people are coming unhinged for no reason. I agree. The court is not making abortion illegal. It's simply saying that the Supreme Court should not have been making that judgment call, that the states should have been making that judgment call because there is a way that our court system operates and that needs to stay intact. So it's not like they're throwing it out. And I see that there's people in the back. So I am going to get to the people in the back. Before I get to the people in the back, I want to just say this. And I'll put it, hold on, I'm trying to. I'm going to put it on the screen for everybody. And that is to please click the link. We'll do one person at a time. And we'll do 10 minutes per person. And I think that will be pretty good. All right, there we go. And I will put the link in the chat again. So let's get into the conversation then. Brianna said, I'm curious, Irene, if you agree with white women taking Black embryos and giving birth to Black babies. No, I don't think that's okay. Becky with the good knife said, pro-lifers protest at abortion clinics, but they don't protest against the system that sexually abuses and damages foster kids that are unwanted. Normally, foster children are not children who would have been aborted. They're just children of bad parents. But I think it's totally possible that pro-lifers can protest abortion because pro-life is an abortion issue. And separately, so for example, I'm pro-life, but on this channel, I've actually made videos about the foster care system and the egregious things that happen to it in it, right? So I think we can walk and chew gum at the same time. I think if we're having a conversation about abortion, we can discuss abortion. I think if we're having conversations about the foster care system, we can discuss the foster care system. And if we're having conversations about which car is nicer, we can have we don't have to have all the conversations at one time. Whether to kill somebody or not doesn't have, in my mind, much to do with the foster care system, unless your argument is that some people are better off dead because otherwise they're going to get into the foster care system. Okay, so with that said, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put the link in the chat. Again, there's a couple people backstage, so I will let them up one person at a time, like I said. Okay. Hello, Ree, how are you?
Hi, I'm doing great. How about yourself?
I'm doing good.
Yes. And so when I first heard it, we're a big pro life family. And when I first heard it, I was very shocked and very glad. I learned more into it. And yes, I do think people are taking it a little out of proportion. And it's kind of scary how emotional some people are. Um, I I live in a college town, a big college town, and we had a protest a little earlier by the campus, and I saw one lady with a coat hanger around her neck to symbolize what would happen if abortion, became uncontrolled and stuff. And it kind of bothers me how emotional, just in any conversation in general, how emotional sometimes people can get with these things. I was thinking a little bit about why it took them so long to make this decision, and I think it has a lot to do with the cultural impact that many of our laws have. And I think if they were to do this like a decade or even a few years after Roe versus Wade first established, the amount of states willing to allow abortion would be less. And I feel like the reason why it took it so long was a tactic to kind of sensitize people to the heinous act of abortion and stuff.
Yeah, I do. I think the emotionality attached to this issue is often disturbing to me. And for whatever reason, and I'm seeing this in the chat, it's almost like we're incapable of having a civilized conversation when it comes to this. I really want us to try, right? As people are coming up here, because I know there's people waiting in the back. I really want us to try to have a civilized conversation about this. I am pro
Absolutely.
life. Yeah, I am pro life, but I think it's valid to want to discuss what about victims of rape. I want to have that conversation. um, I think it's valid also, right, for those who are pro choice to recognize that when a lot of the arguments that are basically like some people are better off dead arguments, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think I saw Faith said, women who live in poverty shouldn't have to be forced to raise a child they're not able to feed and who is likely going to grow up in extreme dysfunction. Faith, I'm coming in on a different part of the conversation, so correct me if I'm misunderstanding you. It's like, are we saying that the child is better off dead than poor? Like, I hope that, like, those better off dead arguments, I think are, um, I think that's a bad reason to kill somebody. You know what I mean? Um, Me personally, like maybe for one woman, it's a perfectly good reason to kill her child. For me, the better off dead thing is not a good reason. I would rather focus on supporting women than killing children if I had to pick, right? I'd rather focus on supporting impoverished women than I would focus on murdering a child because they might grow up in poverty. Um, yeah, but I go ahead.
And I really hate whenever we have these conversations. Oftentimes people on the pro-life side would say, not pro-life, but pro-choice would say, oh, well, um, you're not going to take care of the baby after you're done protesting, or why don't you just take care of my kid? And a part of me is like, well, why is it then my responsibility to take on your your child and take care of it, but I wasn't in the process of making the child? And I think oftentimes that just leads to more fighting and stuff. I think people have a right to advocate for the protection of life while it's unborn. And I think, I don't know, I just think people who do these what ifs just continue an unnecessary conflict. But yes, I also wanted to talk about how many of the pro-life people who actually stick by their beliefs also participate in humanitarian um, groups, and they advocate for better adoption agencies, for the conditions of foster home children. And yeah, that's all I'm saying. And also, oh yes, also, when it comes
Hmm.
to the pro-choice issue, I've always the thing that's always sticked out to me was the rape kind of issue, because it's so I've seen people on the pro-life say, well, oh, I would keep my child if it was raped. Well, the issue of conceiving while being sexually assaulted is such a deep issue. You can't put the what ifs. And I'm going to be honest, I'm pro life, but I don't have a answer for a woman who ends up conceiving a child while sexually assaulted because she just so happened to ovulate at that time. Yeah, that's all.
Yeah, I think on some of those, I'd love to talk to people who are pro choice about those things. Because I think being pro life, for both of us to speak on it, it's a one sided conversation. But I would say that I am not pro choice even in the event of rape. I'm just going to be perfectly honest with you guys. And when a pro choice person comes up, if that's what you want to discuss, I'm happy to discuss that. Um, but yeah, not even the event of rape. Also, something that I don't like is when women who engage in consensual sex um, make the argument that they can be forced to have children. It's like if you are choosing to have sex with somebody and you get pregnant, that's not you being forced. Sex equals possibility of children. And we're all adults and we should comprehend that. But let me bring somebody else up because I said 10 minutes a person. So
Okay, thank
thank
you.
you
Bye
so
bye.
much for coming up. Okay, so there are men and women in the back. I want to bring the women up first because I think it gets very dicey when men give their views. So let me get the two ladies in the back up first, and then I will bring the men up. Not that I don't think men have a voice in this. I just think because abortion is something that happens to a woman's body and pregnancy is something that happens to a woman's body, let's get a few ladies up. So I'm gonna do Layla, and I'm gonna do the one other lady in the back, and then I'll bring the two gentlemen up. And I hope you guys, the two men in the back, don't mind just waiting briefly. Hi, Layla.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes. What's your stance on this?
Okay. Yeah, so I'm a new conservative, I would say in the last year. And I'm not religious in any way. I am a spiritual person, but I'm not religious. And since learning more about, what it means to be free and having a good society, which is what moved me over to being a conservative, is that we do have to be pro-life. We do have to really look at our society and see if actions that we're taking reflect a moral and happy society or a sad and immoral society. And killing babies, dismembering them in the womb, that's just not ever going to translate to a good thing, regardless of the situation. And I think whenever we have these conversations, we have to focus in on that as the sole issue is, do you want to kill a baby or do you not want to kill a baby? And I think it's really hard to deflect from that once, you put that center stage. Like all of these edge cases of like rape or whatever these things are, which are unfortunate, at the end of the day, that action is never going to be beneficial to anyone, especially the baby.
Yeah, well, we know the baby is definitely going to be the loser in the situation in abortion. I think that I wish that we put more less emphasis on whether we can kill unborn children or not. And I wish that we put more emphasis on pregnancy prevention, supporting mothers, uh, sexual responsibility, things like that. Almost all abortions come from consensual sex, right? It's like 1% of abortions are rape. So if we set aside the 1% of abortions that are rape, can we talk about the 99% of abortions that are women who have engaged in consensual sex with a man, and they are either being pressured by the man or they are choosing to go and end their pregnancies? And if we focus on that, then why are the reasons that these women are ending their pregnancies? And can we do things in our society to support women so that we aren't playing, cleanup man, literally cleaning babies out of the womb simply because society is not addressing the needs of pregnant and postpartum and mothers in general. Uh, and also, just general responsibility. I think abortion is a tool that men and women can use to be promiscuous, right? And avoid the consequences that come with promiscuity, which are pregnancy. So, yeah.
No, I
I
totally
definitely
agree. The prevention should be center stage. And we don't put enough emphasis on this. The same place you go to get an abortion could be the same place you go to get reasonable contraception. And it's unfortunate that women, they think that everything should be equal, everything's the level playing field, and that's not the case. As a woman, you're 100% responsible for that baby once you are pregnant. If realistically, that's your responsibility now. And it's unfair that it's two people that create a baby, but then you might have to deal with the burden of it. But that's just the way life is. So if women had the mindset that, hey, every single act of sex could potentially lead to a baby, I feel like people's actions would be way different. We have plan B. We have things in place that are very effective. So why not spend more time on the back end? But that's not how our society is shaped. We don't focus on preventative measures. We don't look at the bigger picture. We just want to look at, oh, can we do this or can we not do it? And it's just really sad because unfortunately they've glamorized abortion so much. I'm on Instagram a lot and there's so many pages that glamorize this, TikTok, they glamorize it. They make it seem like it's just normal, it's fun, it's a privilege to do this. And it's really clear that this is a sick society when we get to that point.
I agree, and I'll say this. I do, and then I'm sorry, I'm gonna let you down and bring the next person up. I so appreciate you coming up. I do agree that um the burden of pregnancy is on the woman. And that's just biological fact, which is, I think, all the more reason because the burden of pregnancy is on you, especially if you're a promiscuous woman. Although promiscuity has been sold to women as some sort of liberation and, not being held down by men and all this, we're the ones that get pregnant. So if you're a promiscuous woman, let's say, men will pat each other on the back for having sex with, three women in a week. But if a woman has sex with three men in a week and she gets pregnant, well, the burden of the pregnancy then falls to you because how do you know which of the three men are the father? So for women, even though we're being sold that we can move like men, men don't have to carry the burden of the consequence. Now, a lot of women will say, well, yeah, that's why we have abortion. I would say, why would somebody have to die so that you can operate by having sex with as many people as you want? Why does somebody have to die because you like having sex with somebody, but you don't like them? Right? Now, I'm also want to point out that it's not always the woman who wants the abortion. Men often mentally coerce women into getting abortions. Many women don't want an abortion, but because the man is such a monster and he pushes her into it, she will go get the abortion. So I don't want to put the onus of who's getting an abortion just on women because we know that men often push women into it. And maybe she's going in and that's not what she wants, but she's doing it to please him, or he's convinced her if she just gets this abortion, they can have a baby later. So let's not pretend that there's not a level also. I'm not saying you are, I'm just saying in general of male manipulation that comes with abortion choices of some women. And think for yourself, said if 1% of abortions are rape, then why fight the 1% on whether they should have the option to choose or not? Let the 1% have that right to choose. All I would say, think for yourself is, shouldn't we deal with the 90% first? Why would we have a conversation about policy based on 1% of a population? Shouldn't we speak to the 90% of the population first? That's the only thing I would say is let's speak to the 90% of the population first. And the other thing I would say is if I were going to kill somebody because of a rape, it would be the rapist, period. If somebody has to die after a woman gets raped, I think it should be the person who raped her. I don't know if you guys understand where I'm coming from with that. Why would you not kill the rapist? Shouldn't the rapist get killed? Why would you kill the baby? Why would the baby get killed but the rapist gets to live? That doesn't make sense to me personally. But you guys let me know what you think in the chat. Anyway, Layla, do you have any final thoughts before I bring somebody else up?
No, I just wanted to make a note that yes, conservatives, a lot of them on the far right, they don't really encourage birth control. They're more, authoritarian in their ways of thinking. But I think a lot of new people who are conservative, who want to conserve, traditional values at this point, just bare minimum, we do focus on preventative measures, being realistic and understanding that people have different lifestyles. So that old picture is fading away. It's already lost the culture war. And thank you.
Well, thank you so much. Okay, I'm going to bring one other lady up, and then I'm going to bring one of the men up that's in the back. So give me 1 second. I am going at ladies. I'm going to ask you, don't get tricked, because I know when men speak on abortion, no matter what their point of view is, it can be difficult. So when I'm warning you now, a man come up. So, Marie said, we did not come from fetuses. We were once a fetus. just like we were an infant or a toddler, or for that matter, a teenager or an adult, right? A fetus is part of human development. These are facts. Celie, what are your thoughts?
Reading. My thoughts
Hey.
are maybe I misunderstood you. For me, in my own opinion, poverty is a good reason for abortion. I am pro-choice. I believe every woman must make her own decision if she is ready to take another human spirit into this dimension and to raise it in this cruelty of the world. I do not believe having outside women or other people telling that woman what she needs to do or not to do. And this thing about the 1%, I find it very interesting that we show empathy when it comes to rape. But there's sexual coercion. There is a woman right now dying, where pregnant women and the number one woman being killed right now. Men are killing their pregnant wife. There is domestic violence going on. I don't know why we are somehow choosing on our own perspective where we are going to have empathy or not. It is on the woman herself. And let's be honest, most women do not go run around in abortion clinics for fun. Most women who really go and have abortions really think about it. And we need to be honest. We don't live in a world that is woman friendly. It is a man rulership. So I cannot live in a man rulership and then say to women, don't have abortion. No. So I don't understand why we try to demand or tell other women how to manage her life as if poverty is not abuse. Poverty does not support mental health issues. Poverty does not support molestation, incest. So I'm sorry, I am pro-choice. Okay, I don't believe abortion should be done as fun or a game. It's not a game, it is a spirit. But I do understand that sometimes women make mistakes, things happen in life. You marry a man, you think he's a nice man, men change, human being change. Now you are in this situation, you have been married now. You cannot leave because marriage is an investment. Now you have this child. Now the woman needs to stay by a man because she shouldn't have been used by men to knock women down. And that is well known in history.
Well,
So
can I ask you something? But you
I,
do
yes,
reckon, you do realize, at least in the States, that the abortion laws were written and created by men and approved by men. That
after
women had that
women
women had that
fight
women had
for,
that women had nothing to do with the formulation of those laws, and that the one woman that participated in the law that was passed recanted her position and is pro-life. I'm not disagreeing. So I want to throw that out there because I think a lot of people don't know that this whole thing about abortion was orchestrated, passed through, and everything by men, and the one woman, right, who was involved in this recanted her position and is pro-life. She became pro-life. She recanted and became pro-life. I also want to say I agree with everything that you're saying about all the horrific things, right, that can happen to a woman, and the fact that this is a male-dominated world. I agree. I guess where we would differ is I wouldn't say that innocent babies should be killed because of that. I would say that we need to address poverty. We need to kill people who are rapists. We need to put stringent prison sentences on violence toward women. I would say that we need to put in regulations that help protect and support women versus leaving those things, right? Leaving that suffering there and telling women, okay, you're going to suffer, and we're not going to address that. We're just going to give you a way to kill your children. So I would
and you're
rather
right
see
with that.
babies
I
living.
support you in that. I
What'd you say?
support you in that. I absolutely support you in that. But those are men on men issue, men need to do it. As a woman, I cannot go to a man. This is how system works. Those are men and men issues. As a woman, I can only talk to other women. And we need to deal with what we're having now.
But
That is
wait,
the situation we're in now.
don't you think, Celie, that we can put the way that women get behind the pro-choice movement or the pro-life movement, that energy we have, that outrage that we have when we have these conversations, we can point that at the egregious things that happen to us as women and say no longer are we as women going to have to make these decisions about whether to kill our children or not. We don't want to play cleanup woman, right, for the behavior of men. We need to put this energy, this anger, this frustration, and we need to direct it at men so that they can get themselves together, so that they can join us in creating policies, right? We're half of the human population. They can join us in creating policies that are protective of women and children so that women are in a position where they have to make a decision about whether they are going to have to kill their child or not. I'm not saying that's something that we can implement immediately. I'm just saying I would hope that we can open up our conversation to recognize that the problem isn't a woman being pregnant. The problem is a society where things are happening to women and children, as you said, Silly, where there's poverty, where there's abuse, and women being afraid to bring a child into those situations, feeling that they are unsupported. And I would rather address the problems than put women in a position to have to live with themselves after they take their own child's life or after they allow, because they don't take their own child's life. Somebody, facilitates that. But do you have any final words, Silly? I'm going to bring somebody else up.
No, I do believe we need to do that, but I also do believe every woman needs to make her own decision. Because at the end of the day, we are blamed for everything anyway. So if I'm going to be blamed for everything, I'm going to make my own decision what I'm going to do. That's all I'm going to say. As is always, the mother's fault when the child felt something. So let's not stand there and act as if somehow, yes, and even this issue of women should stop being promiscuous. It's like only men are allowed. So, that's why I'm sorry. I do believe I am pro-choice. I do not, okay, what I'm saying is I don't believe that abortion should be used as a game. No. But I do believe that every woman should have a right to make a decision what she is going to do and how much is she able to take care of the human spirit until the age of 24, even 25. Are you capable of doing that mentally, spiritually, financially? Can she do that on her own? That is what every woman needs to do her own decision on that. And after she's done that, is she able to take the blame if she messed up the child? So that's my take on it. Thank you for being here. So that's all I want to say.
Thank you so much, Celia. I love when you come up. Okay, let's bring up a man. I'm not sure. Nigel, I'm going to guess that you're a man, right?
I am.
Okay, what are your thoughts?
Oh, first of all, how you doing? Big fan.
I'm fine, thank you.
Yeah, I want to just thank you for letting the women speak first, because men don't have any opinion in this this argument. You might disagree with that, but that's how I just feel. But I don't even want to give my opinion. I just want to ask a question. My question is, we know that the white numbers are diminishing or dwindling in the country in general. When this passes, and it will pass, like maybe in June, Roe will be overturned. It's only really going to affect the red states: Oklahoma, Iowa, Nebraska, Montana. The blue states are not going to be affected. So black women in general are really not going to be affected. Who's really going to feel it is the white women. So what I want to ask you is, my question is, Do you feel like this is the white man's way or technique to protect his numbers or force his women to give birth? Because right now they're not giving birth as rapidly as he would want. So that's my question to you.
No. And here's the thing. It's because abortion's not going to be illegal. You know, so we're having, as I talk to people and people are coming up here, the conversation keeps digressing to whether women should be allowed to get abortions or not. Is that a woman's right or not? But the reality is, the overturning of Roe versus Wade does not make abortions illegal. Abortions are still legal. People can still get them. Overturning Roe versus Wade does not stop that,
No, but I'm
right?
saying when the states take over, because it's
Right,
going to
but
allow the states to take over.
yeah, but we know that, there are going to be states, and that's what I was saying earlier, where you won't be able to get an abortion. And I think that that is fine. But then there are going to be able to be states where you can get an abortion literally until, your ninth month of pregnancy. Until the head of that baby is delivered, you'll be able to get an abortion. They'll be doing partial birth abortions. So I just think that I don't think it's sort of like a Handmaid's Tale sort of situation where, white men or any man is going to be capable of forcing a woman to have an abortion. Also, or to carry a pregnancy, I mean. Also, unless you are raped, nobody's forcing you to be pregnant. When we as adults, and I just don't know why we pretend this is not true. When an adult man, just like I don't believe a woman can force a man to be a father, right? Not during consensual sex. When a man and a woman lay down to have sex, you're consenting to everything that comes with that. Okay? You lay down to have sex with somebody, you could get a disease. You lay down to have sex with somebody, you can catch feelings. And if you lay down to have sex with somebody, you could get someone pregnant or you could become pregnant. We are adults. So for somebody to lay down, have consensual sex, get somebody pregnant, or become pregnant, and then start yelling, somebody's forcing you to have a baby or somebody's forcing you to be a father, it's like, that was consensual sex. Nobody's forced you to anything. You chose to do something that could result in a baby.
But just
If
to
you
push back,
didn't want a baby, you shouldn't have done it. It's like if you don't want to if you don't want a DUI, don't drink and drive. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't make sense.
just to push back on that just a little bit though, just because you
Mhm.
have sex, you're not consenting to everything that happens after that. I would have to disagree with that just a little bit, because what
Why?
I do with my body is up to the point it has to be whatever has to be executed. Like I can drink alcohol if I choose to throw the alcohol up. That's my prerogative. If I choose, you can't force me to. You can't say, oh well, you can't throw up that alcohol. You have to ingest it and let it go. Let it take its course.
When
You.
So explain to me how, when you have sex with somebody, right? Let's say that you consent to have unprotected sex with somebody. Let's just go unprotected, right? Or you can be wearing a condom. Let's say you consent to have sex with somebody and you wear a condom, and the girl has crabs. Now, a condom won't protect you from crabs, will it?
No.
But you decided to get in the bed, put on a condom, and have sex with her, and you know that there are diseases that you can catch. You can catch herpes because it could be on her thighs or something like that. You can catch crabs because a condom doesn't protect from that. So in my eyes, when you consented to have sex, you knew that there were risks that came with sex. Maybe your condom breaks, right? You know that a condom breaking is a possibility of sex.
Right, but
So
it's not. Go ahead.
it's sort of like if, like I said, if I go drinking and I get in my car to drive, could I make it home safely? Sure, I could make it home safely, right? But if I wrap myself around a pole, if I kill somebody, right? If something happens once I've decided to drink and drive, the moment I got in that car knowing I had been drinking, everything that happens after that is my responsibility, period. And I don't think sex is any different.
But it is though, because once you get pregnant, it's something you can do to prevent the pregnancy. It's nothing you can do when you have sex with the girl with crabs. You got crabs automatically. Same thing with the alcohol, the driving. Once you drink and drive,
I
you're
mean, once
drinking
you're
and driving.
pregnant, you're pregnant.
But you can reverse that though. You
Okay,
can
so then
prevent
this
the.
is
But you
my
can.
question. Would
But you
you
can
think it was?
prevent giving birth though. Can you not?
Yes, you can. You can kill your baby. Yes, you can. But this is my question. So
If you think
if
it's a
if
baby.
a per, if a person drinks and drives and they kill somebody, and I create a law that says if you drink and drive and you kill somebody, but you choose to take a class, it's okay if you kill somebody. So then people stop being careful about how much they drink and drive, because even if I kill somebody, I can just take a class and I'm not going to go to prison. Would you think that was a fair law?
Well, I don't like that comparison because you taking class is not even going to bring that person back. You terminating a pregnancy can prevent the pregnancy. That's what
Right.
we
It
want to
kills
avoid.
somebody. It's the same. It's exactly the same. It kills somebody. That's all I'm saying. So
But yeah, but that's not. Go ahead.
no, I'm just saying that would you think the law was fair that if somebody drank and drive and somebody got killed, that there was a way for them not to be punished, not to be
Of course that law
not
wouldn't
to
be
be
fair.
not to be responsible for the death?
Of course that law wouldn't be fair, but that's not an equivalent argument. I don't think.
How is a law that allows you to kill somebody without consequence any different from abortion, which is a law that allows you to kill somebody without consequence?
So
How is
you
that
would.
different?
All right. Well, you would have to first say that the fetus is a somebody. That's number one.
Okay, so if it's not a somebody, what is it?
A fetus.
Right, a fetus means offspring. Is it a dog in there? Is it a cat in there? Is
No,
it a human? It's a
I mean,
human, right?
it's a human fetus. Yes.
Yeah, a fetus means offspring.
Okay, it could be a human. Yeah, but it's a human fetus though.
Yeah, but fetus literally means offspring. The
Okay, so
offspring.
it's human offspring. Okay,
Yeah, right.
so is that
So
so you
it's
still
a
is that a
human.
somebody?
Well, I mean, at what point don't you think it's a somebody?
See, and
Because
that's what I can't answer. So
yeah, yeah.
to
So
you, if you're a
all right.
Christian, you can be.
So
Go ahead.
well, no, I mean, for me, I would think most abortions are performed around the 8th week of pregnancy, right? Between 8 to 12 weeks of pregnancy. And at that point, you have arms and legs and little hands. I mean, that's why in my picture I put up a 7-week-old fetus. And if you look at the thumbnail to this picture, that's a 7-week-old fetus. That resembles a human, right? It's got arms and legs and an eyeball. It's tiny, but I mean, all the bits and pieces are there.
Oh, I definitely agree, but I'm just that wasn't even the point of my question, and I'm gonna let
Oh,
somebody else get on. But
yeah, I know. Your question was, do I think, the white men are trying? No, I guess my short answer was no, because nobody can, unless a woman is raped, pregnancy is not something that's forced on a woman. Consensual sex can result in pregnancy, and consensual sex is a choice, which means that anything that happens because you choose to have consensual sex is what you've consented to. I guess that would be my answer.
okay, and just before I get off, I'll let you answer it while I'm off air. I just want to
Hmm.
ask one last question. My last question is: would you at least say that men are forcing women to at least carry the pregnancy, or forcing them to carry the pregnancy to term? And I'll leave on that note.
Okay, so no, because abortion's still going to be legal. Abortion's still going to be legal. And as long as two adults consent to sex, if the woman gets pregnant, the father and the mother now have a child. That's not being forced. I don't, just like I don't think if a woman chooses not to get an abortion, right? Let's say the woman chooses not to get an abortion. And then the man is like, I didn't want a baby. You're forcing me to be a father. I wouldn't allow that. I wouldn't agree with that. No, sir, you laid down, you had sex with her. You may not have wanted her to get pregnant, but you knew you could get her pregnant by having sex with her. So you're the father. You're going to pay child support. You're going to help take care of that baby. You are responsible for the child. Now, the question is, ladies, I'm curious to see what you guys say in the chat. If a woman chooses to not get an abortion, are you guys going to allow the man to say that you're forcing him to be a father and therefore he should not be forced to raise the child? Or is it only women that can be forced into parenthood? This is a question that I have. You guys let me know. Let me bring somebody else up. Hey, Twin.
Yeah, Irene, I completely disagree with your stance. But see, this is the
Okay,
fun.
speak your mind.
We'll start here. You would consider yourself a conservative, correct?
Conservative, not Republican, yes.
Not Republican. Are you for small government?
Yes.
Are you for less government intrusion?
Yes.
What do you feel about mask mandates? Do you feel like that's a government intrusion?
Mask mandates? Yes.
Yes. What about a vaccine mandate? Do you think that's a government intrusion?
Absolutely.
But somehow, some way, you can wrap your mind around to say that the government saying that a woman shall not be able to have agency over her body isn't a government intrusion. That
I
makes
don't
no
care.
sense.
Well, but wait. I don't care what a woman does with her body.
Yes, you do.
No, I don't.
Absolutely do. And I'm gonna tell you
I
why.
don't. I don't.
You
I'm
just
not.
said to
I'm
me.
not making. But
I'm gonna
wait.
tell you why I
Wait a
don't
sec.
believe
Wait.
what you
Wait.
just
Wait
said
a
to me.
second. Wait a second. I don't care what a woman does with her body. I
So
care
why are you
about.
against abortion?
Because what happens in an abortion is what occurs during an abortion.
Hold on, it shouldn't matter because that's her body.
No. Wait a second. Just answer my
No,
question.
no.
Wait.
If that happened in her body, is that
Okay. Wait.
her body?
Okay. Well, I'll say it. What is inside of her body?
A fetus,
Which is what?
a lump of cells with no organs, no
Oh, wait.
nervous system,
No.
no no
Wait.
heart.
Wait a second. That's not true because it's a very short period of time. Now, if we
Mm-hmm.
were having a conversation about the abortion pill, you'd have a point. But it's a very short period of time, only the first 3 or 4 weeks that you don't have arms and legs and a heart and all that. So unless you're talking about abortion before the 4-week mark, that's very disingenuous because after the 4-week mark, there's arms, legs, there's a heartbeat. You know what
No,
I'm
there's
saying?
not.
Yes, there is.
There's electrical impulses going through the umbilical cord to stimulate a heart from the child.
Wait a second. Your heart makes electrical impulses, twin. I could say that about your heart.
But Irene, that
Wait.
fetus,
Can we acknowledge?
hold on. Irene, if we're
No,
talking
wait a
medical
second.
right now, that fetus is not living on its own until the fetus is not living on its own until that last trimester. That's when it actually has a heart and lungs.
Wait. Let's stop there, right? So are you saying that if a living human, right?
Mm-hmm.
Fetus, right? In the example you're using, is not capable of living on their own.
Right.
And can you define what living on your own is?
Being able to support oneself.
Okay. That
when I say being able to, hold on, let me elaborate. Being able to breathe on one's own, what a fetus cannot do, what a zygote cannot do.
Okay, wait. Okay, I just wanted to get clear. So then everybody that's on life support with the respirator, we should just pull the respirators and let them die.
See, now you're making an extreme example.
I'm not. Stop. I'm not. I'm just saying during COVID, we put a lot of people on respirators because they couldn't breathe on their own. Wait a second. I'm just saying that there are a lot of individuals who aren't capable, because you used breathing as an example of breathing on their own.
I did.
So then they should be dead.
No, that's just your extreme example you're trying to use.
No, I mean, we're talking about killing people. I don't think
we're not.
Wait a second. When we're talking
over one's body.
So I guess where we may not have a meeting of the minds is I say I don't care what a woman does with her body. I care about the other body that's inside of her body.
But
So
you're saying that that
when a
woman doesn't
woman,
have a choice to do what she wants with her body because
I
of what's
do,
inside of her
she
body.
has,
That's
she has,
extremely hypocritical.
well, this is the thing. The thing is that, unfortunately, in the minds of many women, it's unfortunate. Women have wombs, right?
Right,
But
right.
when a woman, and I'm only talking about consensual sex, people, when a woman and a man engage in consensual sex and a third person is created, that third person has its own body and it is inside of the woman's body.
But that's
And
according, that's how you
and
feel,
so,
Irene.
no, that's not how I feel. That's literally what happens. Come on
No,
now.
that is not what happens, Irene.
So babies aren't inside of the woman's body?
So Irene, I have a question.
That,
Was
so
it
wait,
murder? So did that
so
woman
fetus,
murder?
so
Did that woman murder that zygote when she miscarried?
Well, no more than a person who dies of natural causes is murdered. But we know that there's murder and then there's people who die naturally.
But
And
Irene,
it's
again, you're
no
telling
different.
me
It's no
how
different
you
inside of the
feel
womb.
about this situation. Because see,
No,
you were
I'm telling
talking
you
about,
that's just science.
but real quick, you were talking
Hmm.
about how we should be focusing on prevention and contraception. The Republican Party doesn't believe in any of that. And a lot of these red states,
But I'm not
hold
a
on
Republican.
real
Hmm.
fast, and a lot of these states where they're going to outright ban abortion, they believe Plan B, IUDs, and all forms of birth control are abortion. You know this.
Okay, but wait a second. Even in those states, right? They may make abortion illegal, but all abortion won't be illegal. There will be some states, many states, who
I
will
wanted
let
to
women
address
have
that as well.
who will let women have abortions up until 9 months of pregnancy, up until as long as they haven't given birth, as long as the head has not, because they deliver those late term abortions breached, because the law is as long as the head is not delivered on an alive baby, it can be legal in some states. So I think
So Irene, when is late
I
term?
think it's
Now
perfect. I think
I need you to be
mhm.
generous with this, Irene. When is late term
Okay.
abortion actually done? It's done when the life of the mother is at risk.
No. That's not the only time.
Even in
No, no,
that
no.
instance, the life
No.
of the mother has to be severely at risk for them to
No,
conduct a
that's
late
come on.
term abortion.
Let's not do that. That's not true. And
That
also,
is
I have
absolutely true,
no, it's
Irene.
not.
Come
It's
on.
not true. Now, it's not true. And I'm going to say this: the life of the mother argument. And then, even though this is interesting, I said 10 minutes. I don't want to give special treatment to anybody, but
I just literally have one more
I
thing to
want to
say,
talk.
Irene, and then I'm gonna
Let's
get down. I promise.
before you get there, let's talk about the life of the mother thing. I actually have a great video done by doctors on this life of the mother argument. All things in pregnancy, right? Where the life of the mother would be at risk are things that are indicated at a time way before a late term abortion would ever be needed. I don't want to quote these doctors, but I will post on the comment section of this video because I think the life of the mother argument, when you hear medical professionals talk about it, the things that could risk the mother's life, right? I think that will bring in a different perspective. I think you need to hear actual doctors discuss the cases medically where the life of a mother could be in question. I think it's important to stress that the actual way that a life of the mother could be in danger and the legalization, the legalese around abortion, life of the mother being in jeopardy are very different. For an abortion, an emotionally distressed or depressed mother, her life is considered to be in jeopardy. So if I go and I say, and I'm 8 months pregnant and I say, oh my goodness, I'm just so stressed, I just feel like, I'm overwhelmed, you know, I feel like I want to die, right? If I say that I'm emotionally distressed, the quality of my life and my life is in danger, that legalese is perfectly justifiable reason to do a late term abortion. Mental distress is a justifiable reason in the states that offer late term abortion.
I need you to
And
prove
that
that.
is very different. Yeah, that's why I said, you guys, I'm gonna attach this to the comment section of the video, because it's doctors, actual physicians talking about the actual things that can risk a mother's life during pregnancy, and then how that translates when we're talking about abortions. It translates a little bit differently. But what was the last thing you were going to say?
I was going to sit here and say this. At the end of the day, this is a privacy issue. The government should not be sitting here taking agency over anyone's body. It's called pro-choice for a reason. You, as a woman, should have a right to do what you want with your body. Now, where we agree, Irene, is that people need to be safer in their sexual habits. I agree with you, but let's not make any qualms about this. And a lot of these states where they're going to outlaw abortion, they don't believe in contraception, they don't fund their healthcare systems, they don't fund foster care systems, they don't fund social services at all.
And then if those women want abortions, they can simply go to one of the states that allows abortion.
Irene, are we really going to sit here and pretend everybody is economically able to just go to a state that allows abortion?
Then you know what I would say, Twin, you're not ready for my answer. Then if you are not economically stable enough to support a child, then you are not economically stable enough to be having sex.
That's ridiculous. And you know
why
that.
is it ridiculous? Why? So it's better somebody dies than you
Irene,
whoa. So you're saying it's better that we give the right to people to kill children than it is for us to tell people, both men and women, that if you think being poor is a reason to kill a child, then maybe poor people shouldn't have sex.
I'm saying
it's better we kill, but it's better we kill somebody.
May I answer your question? Yeah. I'm sitting here saying that it is up to that person on what they want to do, and the government shouldn't be mandating. If you're against mandates and government overreach and government in your life, you should not be sitting here championing that government should be able to tell a woman, I'm going to do what you have to do what I say. I think
no. I'm not championing that. Wait. I'm leaning on a law that already exists, which is we can't murder other people. Period.
No, Irene, a fetus is not a person.
Then what is it?
Irene, we're just going to disagree on that.
Yeah,
I mean, I feel like a lot of this.
Wait a second. I'm a clump of cells. So are you.
Irene, we're just going to disagree with that. You know I love you.
So wait. I said I was no.
We're just going to disagree on that.
Okay, so
I don't think a zygote and a fetus is a person. I believe at the end of the day that woman has a right.
Let me ask you something. Let me ask. Can I ask you a personal question, Twin?
Of course.
Okay, you have sons.
I have 5 of them.
When your babies were in their mother, were those your babies? Yes or no?
Yes.
That's all I wanted to know. Okay. Thank you for coming up to me.
Yeah.
Bye. No. That's all I'm saying. It's funny how, sorry, Twin, I had to cut you off. But it's funny how, when we want the baby, it's a baby. When we don't want the baby, it's a clump of cells, it's a zygote, it's a fetus, right? But if I'm pregnant, or your wife is pregnant, or you are pregnant, and you want that baby, and somebody assaults you and your baby dies, do you know that the person that assaulted you could go to jail for murder? Because they killed that clump of cells in your belly. And the only reason it's murder is because you wanted it. So it's funny how we apply personhood and value to that clump of cells, that fetus, when we want it. But when we don't want it, it's suddenly not a human being and it doesn't have value anymore. Let me bring somebody else up.
Hello.
Hi.
First of all, Irene, good job, because brother was tripping. I would say first we should get rid of Roe v. Wade. Next we should get rid of alimony. I think it's time all the adults to be responsible for their decisions, not just the men.
Run that by me again.
I said first we should get rid of Roe v. Wade, and then next we should get rid of alimony. I think it's time for people to get responsible in their decisions, not just the men.
Well, I think alimony is there because let's say you have somebody who is not, remember, alimony is not gender based. And I think alimony makes sense because if you have somebody that is a homemaker, right, for example, and let's say that person is married for 10 years, that means
Okay.
they have no employment history, right? They have no work experience outside of the home. Everything they've done has been inside of the home. And because of that, that's why we have alimony, because it is a protection for the person who has not been managing their career and things like that to have a career in the home. That's why alimony was established, because otherwise that person goes off into the world. Let's say the husband decides, and like I said, alimony is not gender specific, but women do get it more often. Let's
Right.
say the husband goes off and has an affair, or he just no longer wants to be with the woman, but she spent, you know, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 years being a wife and mother.
That's
In
if though.
fairness, in fairness, to just throw her out in the world with no work experience, no nothing, just working in the home, and say there's no responsibility that this person has to support her until she either remarries or until she earns a certain amount of money. I don't know about throwing that out the window. I mean, that doesn't make sense to me. That would put a lot of women honestly in danger, a lot of homemakers in danger. And it's something that if a person truly loves the person that they're marrying, it's not something they would want anyway. If you actually care about that person, you wouldn't want to, you know, 20 years into your relationship, 10 years into your relationship, throw them out into the world knowing that they haven't been living a life that would allow them to enter into the workplace with any sort of reasonableness. So I just think, I don't know about alimony being thrown away. I think that's impractical. I think that's as impractical as throwing child support away. Because in the same way that I say women shouldn't be allowed to, um, say they're being forced to be a mother when they engage in consensual sex, I don't think men should be allowed to say they're forced to be a father when they engage in consensual sex. It's just, we all have to take responsibility for our choices. You know what I'm saying?
Right. I mean, like, what would you say that today's relationships? Because, like, I mean, marriages are not even lasting that long. I mean, marriages are like maybe 4 years, and then somebody's, divorcing somebody. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we're not in
Hmm.
that generation of like the marriage lasting for 35, 45. I mean, I had grandparents that was married for 44 years. I'm not seeing that type of long lasting marriages in this generation.
Yeah, well, first I want to say we're off topic, but I want to say we can bring
Right,
ourselves we can bring
right,
ourselves back on topic with that conversation. I
right,
think the reason that we see more single motherhood, the reason that we see more marriages breaking up is that now, right? It's easier for people to make bad choices, and there
yeah,
are a lot of outs for those bad choices. We see more promiscuity and more single motherhood and more fathers abandoning their children. We see all that because now you can get an abortion. You
right,
can, you're not forced to marry people that you get pregnant, right? There's no
exactly.
social stigma, right, to having a broken family. So, whether that's why you guys have heard me say it on this channel before, that's why I think we need to bring shame back.
Yeah,
Bring shame
I
back,
totally agree.
because
I
I
totally
I
agree.
think these no fault divorces, it used to be in order to get a divorce you had to have a legitimate reason. Now a lot of
Exactly.
states are no fault states, which means It's no one's fault. We just don't want to do it anymore. So
Right.
now that people have the ability, and I think abortion is right up there with it. Now that we have, condoms, and we have birth control, and we
Right.
have abortion, really a bunch of stuff for women to take so that men can have access to their bodies, right?
Right.
Then, nobody feels the need to be responsible. That's why Twin Man, not to call him out, but that's why he said it's unrealistic for poor people to not have sex. Well, it's
Right.
unrealistic because back in the day, if you were poor and you got a woman pregnant, or you were a woman and you got pregnant, you were stuck with that. There was no way of getting out of that. So people thought more long and hard before they had sex. They thought more
Right.
long and hard before they reproduced. They would get their money up and get a house established before they would ask somebody to marry them, because there
Exactly.
weren't all these outs in society. I think
Right.
all of this ability to dodge accountability for our actions is
Yep.
creating a society where everybody is irresponsible, and everybody thinks the moment you ask them to take responsibility for their actions that you're some kind of demonic individual. And it's like, no, be
Right.
responsible. Grow up. We're adults. We're not children. We make choices. We need to stand by the consequences of our decisions.
Exactly.
But do you have a final word before I pull you off of here? I'm sorry.
Oh no, not really. But it just accountability is key, people. Accountability is key.
Thank you so much for coming up.
Thank you.
Okay, let's bring some more women up. Nava, is that how you, or is it Nava? How do you pronounce your name?
Nava. It's Nava.
Nava. I've literally never heard that before. That's a unique name.
Thank you. I'm just in the audience and I'm just sitting back watching this whole debacle, and I'm just like in awe at our people. I have the same stance as you, and I'm just like, am I in the twilight zone that we're really like discussing this and fighting over it? Like I'm just in shock at just the stuff that our women and some of our men are saying. I'm like, they really believe, Irene, that these are not babies. They really believe that.
They don't believe that.
And I think they do. No, I think they really do. And I'm like so in shock. Like I've literally heard a person say that I would stomp on a fetus. Like, and I'm like, is this the world that we are living in? Like, is this the world that we are in right now? It's crazy to me.
But I think that's the spirit of not all pro-life. All of you who are pro-life, I'm not putting this on you, but I do think that there is a spirit, right, that comes, like an energy that comes with being willing to kill children. And on the
I think the
extreme,
words like
on the extreme end, you do have people that are, I mean, what's that woman went and got an abortion? She filmed it and she was smiling and singing the whole time. It's like, honey, you're not at a party. You know what I'm saying? You're killing
I
your
think
child.
words like embryo, I think words like embryo and fetus have desensitized us and made us believe that if we use these words, they won't think it's a human. Like when there's been studies that have shown that these babies feel this pain when they're being ripped from your body limb by limb, that they scream out in pain and flinch. Like, I've seen all the pictures and everything that I've seen. Most of us just haven't seen the process. A lot of people haven't seen what it actually is. They think it's just like a lump of cells when it's actually a baby that's moving earlier than what they think it is. We've just been lied to so much that we just, in our minds, we can't connect that it is a human.
Wait, can I just say, Angelic Nymph said, I straight up disagree. I'm a spiritual person myself, and to call me evil for letting a woman choose is disgusting. I don't know who called you
I
evil.
just told her. I just
Oh,
told her that,
oh,
people do have a choice. Yeah, you do have a choice, but do we not have a choice to just make better decisions also than to say it was an accident? Accidents happen. That's not like, I'm with you on that. We need to be more responsible with our bodies instead of saying we could just go kill our kids. That's not responsible. We're not taking accountability, and that's all I'm hearing Black women talk about on YouTube. But when it comes to this, it's like, oh, it's accidents happen. Like that's not an accident. Like that is literally murder. Unless they legalize it, then it's not murder. Then okay, like I don't get that. Like pedophilia is being legalized, so it's okay to some people. Being gay is being legalized, so it's okay to some people. Everything that's getting legalized is not okay.
Well, I agree with that. Everything that's legal is not okay. And I just think, I guess I don't understand why. And so, Marie brought up if your unborn child like is causing, is going to basically, if it's going to kill the mother, right?
Hmm.
Is that still an abortion? First of all, I have to say, I really need you guys to go watch this video with these doctors. Basically, the gist of what the doctors say is there's really no time where an unborn child would really like be a reason to have to give a woman an abortion, because most of the things that would cause, right, that would cause a mother to get sick, they can either treat, or her body would spontaneously abort the baby. But I really
I've
want
heard
to
stories of
attach.
when
Mhm.
I've heard stories of that when doctors tell women that, and they just tell women that because they are trying to lower our birth rates, and they do it on purpose. And some of these babies can actually be born and survive, but they know that we don't know any better. So we go in there and we just listen to them, and we're so afraid to die that it happened to my cousin. Actually, my cousin was about to have her baby, and the doctor told my aunt, we can save your daughter or your grandchild. And my aunt was like, well, my daughter better come out alive. Nothing better not happen. Both of them survived. But the doctors tell Black people this a lot because they are trying to lower our numbers. We know this. So they say that. So I agree with you there also.
Can I address DP Jackson said there isn't a single law that governs the reproduction of men. Women can't even get a hysterectomy without permission. So first of all, let's say this. Um, uh, the trans women are doing all kinds of things to their bodies and their uteruses without permission, right? I mean, I think in order to do anything surgical, a doctor has to agree to do it. I don't know what you mean without permission. There's no law that says a woman can't get a hysterectomy. Just like there's no law that says that you can't cut off, if you're a man, right? I don't know if you're a man though, DP. If you're not a man, I'm sorry. Cut off your scrotum, right? Now, I'll say this. It's a little disingenuous of an argument to say there's no law that governs the reproduction of men, because number one, men can't get pregnant. There are always going to be laws that are gender specific because we're different. We're not the same, right? Because our bodies are different, because the uterus is an organ that men don't have, right? There are going to be laws and social policies that are going to be different for men and women. Everything cannot be the same because we're not the same. That's kind of like new age thinking. Second of all, nobody is governing the reproduction, right? Choosing to reproduce or not reproduce is up to people who choose to have sex. What is being governed, if anything, is can you kill other people? Right? That's all that's being
Right,
governed. Are you allowed to
right,
kill a sanction, a human being or not? Can you kill another person or not? Do women have rights to kill their babies or not? Because we're not even going to have the conversation. Do men have rights? I mean, let me ask you this, ladies. Let me throw this out there. And I would love somebody to come up and speak to me about this. Since what is in your stomach isn't a baby, it's not a human, it's a clump of cells in a fetus, then can men tell you to discard that clump of cells in fetus? Should men be able to force a woman to get an abortion because what's in her body is not a human being, it's not a person, and it's not a baby? Right? I'm just curious.
right. And
Is
why do
is
they
that
get charged
something?
with murder when they kill a pregnant woman? Why do they get charged with murder when they
Well,
kill a
yeah, I'm just
pregnant woman
wondering,
at any stage?
if a man if a woman is pregnant, if she's 3 months pregnant, 2 months pregnant, 1 month pregnant, or 8 months pregnant, and her boyfriend comes into the house and stomps on her belly and she miscarries, does he go to jail for murder? I want the pro-choice people to answer this. Does he go to jail for murder? Somebody come up and tell me. If a man walks into a house and a woman is pregnant, 1 month pregnant, 2 months pregnant, any month's pregnant, she's just pregnant, and he walks in and he stomps her in the stomach, stomps her in the uterus, and she miscarries, do the pro-choice people feel that he should be tried for murder or not? I just want to
And
know.
if he kills her, it's double murder if he kills both of them.
I want
So yeah,
I want them to come through and answer that. But what are your last thoughts, Neva? Or
I was
Nava?
gonna throw I was gonna throw a monkey wrench in this whole conversation because Nev, she said that she's not evil. I don't know if I called her evil or if anybody called her evil, but I don't think she's evil. I just think we've all been lied to and deceived to believe that these aren't actual humans. And what you just said proves, that the law can say in one instance that this is a baby, and then the law can turn around and tell you that it's not a baby also. When you abort a fetus, it's not a baby, but then they can say that if you stomp a pregnant woman, it's a baby and it's a person and you're going to jail. So we've been lied to. And I could throw, I'm going to come out and say this. I'm going to throw a monkey wrench in this whole conversation. I have had an abortion over 17, 18 years ago. And I look back at that and I'm pro life. I'm all the way pro life. What I did was wrong. What I did was murder. I'm not even gonna lie to myself and say that that wasn't murder. But at the time, I thought like the people that are pro choice in your comments. I was, oh, it's a fetus, it's not a baby, it's not alive. I didn't know about all the information that you shared about how babies feel this, how they have limbs, how they scream in your womb, how they rip them apart, how they rip them out of you, how you might not be able to have a baby after this because they scrape your uterus, your walls, and they do all kind of stuff
Yeah.
to us when we're on that table. We don't know that. We've been lied to. So this is like my people. I see this, and I was in the comments reading comments, just crying, like this can't be real. Like this is real life. So yeah, I went from pro-choice to all the way pro-life.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm glad that
And
you
you don't
shared
for
your
and some women do not forgive themselves. Some women
Yeah.
cannot get over it after they learn the truth. I was one of those women, like that was like, oh my God, this is what I did to a life, a baby. If it was my body, my choice, I would be dead, not a baby. Not these babies. We would all be dead if it was our body that was getting butchered and tore apart on those tables.
Yeah. That's so true. And I'm glad that you shared your story because I think something that we don't talk about and that nobody that I've seen has brought up until you in this conversation is that there is an emotional and mental toll on women when they go through this. And even when they take the RU 486, right? A pill, that's not like you take a pill and you just go about your day. Women have talked about that. It is often extremely painful. There's a lot of bleeding. It is a horrible process to go through when you
Because that
take that
baby has to
pill. So
die first. That baby
yeah,
that baby has to die first.
and there's an emotional toll that comes with that. I think a video with you speaking about how they feel pain when we dehumanize an unborn child, I really encourage you guys all to watch the video A Silent Scream. That's the name of the video, A Silent Scream. And it's actually all the video is an ultrasound assisted abortion. They actually stopped doing ultrasound assisted abortions for everything but late term abortions because it made the people in the abortion clinics sick. You can
Because at
see
three
in
and
this
4 months, you
video.
can see them jumping. You can see them running
Yes,
from
you
the
can see
tools that are ripping them
exactly.
apart.
Yes, yes. If you watch if you watch a silent scream, what you'll see is a very small baby, a baby about a little bit bigger than the one that I have in the picture of the thumbnail, and it's the doctor is doing the abortion process, and you can see the baby in the womb literally trying to scoot away from the catheter that they put in there or the little hose that they put in there to suck the baby out. The baby's like moving away and like going crazy trying to get away from it.
But
It
as long as they
really,
don't see that, but Irene, you're gonna have
yeah,
people that are pro-choice. They don't see it. They don't. They're out of sight, out of mind. It's not a human. It's a
I
lump of
want
cells. I can stump on it. If they don't see that, they won't know that.
Yeah, I think you guys
I
should
didn't
go
know
watch
that. I
that
didn't know
video.
that.
Yeah, I
I
think you
didn't
guys
know
should
that.
go
But
watch
when I
it.
did know that, my heart broke. When I figured out what I did, Irene, 15 years, I couldn't even talk about it. Like, I couldn't. And now I'm not crying for me, but I'm crying for the women that don't know what they're doing. I'm not even a Christian anymore. When I did this, I was a Christian. I'm not a Christian anymore. But when I did this, I was in the church because I believed the lies that this is not a human. And I'm like, where would my baby be? What would my baby be? Okay, I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna stop. Like, I'm gonna stop. But I just wanted to come from a different perspective from somebody that did believe like that did it, and that's like all these years later, like looking at this, like this can't be real.
I just
So
appreciate
thank
you.
you.
No, thank you for coming up so much. I really appreciate it. And I really appreciate the fact that you were so transparent because I think it's important. And if we're honest, I think a lot of the women that are listening can relate to that. And maybe even some
But
men
I'm
who
not
might
hearing it.
have,
I'm not hearing it. And it's so scary that you're not hearing the remorse, the people that say, I did this, but now I found out this and I'm pro life now. Like, and I don't see enough people fighting it. Like, and I'm like, wow, like, wow. It is a spirit. Like you said, it is a spirit. Like, and it's a deaf, dumb, and blind spirit too. That's like trying to get us to close off our ears and our eyes to what's really happening to us as a people.
yeah, yeah,
So yeah.
I I completely agree.
I'll go
Thank
back
you.
down now
Thank you
and
so
I'll
much
keep
for
listening.
coming up. Yes.
Okay.
And I wanted
You
to pose, I wanted to pose, so first of all, somebody was commenting that I am against, I am against abortion, uh, even in the cases of rape. And then they threw out children, right? They threw out children as an example. What I said was, I'm for killing rapists, not babies. And I think it's really important that I reiterate that. You guys know there's a lot of things I think people should be killed for. Um, if I had my way, especially if a child is assaulted, right? I would, I would, I would want to see that person die a violent death. I'm not really sure why people think, in the very, very rare, because we are talking rare, rare cases, that there was a child who was abused and that abuse ended up in a pregnancy. Why you would think that putting that child through an abortion would somehow not also be traumatic. I think we should kill rapists, not babies. I stand by it. Y'all can't move me off that square. I think if rapists got killed, there would be far less rape and we wouldn't have to have a conversation about what to do with their victims or unborn children. Because if a person knew that that's your death, they knew that you will get killed for raping, then a lot fewer people would be out here raping people. Let me tell you. When people know that you're about to get killed, when they see a few people get violently killed, when they used to do public executions and stuff like that, because it makes people think twice. You guys want to have a conversation about killing children, but we don't want to have a conversation about dealing with problems, dealing with poverty, dealing with abuse, dealing with the ability to support women, dealing with family services, dealing with killing violent criminals, such as rapists. That would go much further. And then no woman or child, as that previous commenter put on the table, would have to go through an abortion because of vile people. It's much easier to take care of the people. Have you ever, you guys are like the medical industry sometimes. You'd rather focus on the treatment than focus on prevention. I am prevention minded. Prevent unwanted pregnancies by being sexually responsible. Prevent rape by publicly killing rapists. You can prevent things. There's no need for us to kill innocent children when we have the ability as fully grown adults to prevent these problems. And then I want to throw on the table, Sunflower Kisses said, yes, he does go to jail because she wanted the baby. So let me ask this question in a different way. If a man walks into a house and his wife or girlfriend is pregnant and he stomps on her tummy and she has a miscarriage, but she was already scheduled for an abortion, is it still murder? Let me repeat that. If a man walks into a house and a woman is pregnant, no matter how pregnant she is, 1 month to 9 months, she has already scheduled an abortion, and he walks up to her and he stomps on her stomach and she miscarries. Does he walk away? Is he not a killer? Does he not get charged with murder? I want to repose the question. Angelic Nymph said, what if you knew your child would be severely disabled and will suffer for the rest of their days if birthed? No abortion for them too? I mean, my goodness, are we actually claiming that some people are less valuable than others? I guess that would be my question, Angelic Nymph. Are we claiming that some people are less valuable than others? I have a sister who is severely disabled. So I talk about one of my sisters a lot, but I don't talk about the other one. She's extremely disabled. She can do nothing for herself, right? She can walk around and stuff, but she can't cook. She can't really use her hands, right? She can't really talk. She can't swallow, so she slobbers a lot. Is she better off dead? That's my answer. Do you want to play the you're not a good enough person to live game? Because there used to be a time where Black children were considered better off dead. So I guess my question is, the better off dead argument is like an insane argument to me. Like when people, not just you, but just in general, a big part of the abortion pro-choice argument is that some people are better off dead. So let's say the poor thing. If poor people should get abortions because being poor is something that is worse than death, then why don't we just kill all the poor people now? Why wait to just kill the unborn babies? Why don't we just take our rifles and run out and start shooting all these poor people, especially in the third world countries where people are dirt poor? Why don't we kill them? Because poverty is worse than death. Why don't we do them a favor? That's how it sounds to me when I hear people who are pro-abortion make those arguments. It sounds like you're saying things like that, which is crazy, right? Miko Child 2 said, I was raped for a major portion of my childhood. I'd rather abort. Preventative measures do nothing for the existing pregnancy. That's me, though. Other women can decide differently. First of all, Miko, I am so sorry that happened to you. I can't imagine. I'm so sorry you were not protected. I wish if there was any justice in the world, the person that was repeatedly harming you, we would have all watched that person be tortured and killed. I don't think there could have been enough torture and killing. I am so sorry that happened to you. That is terrible. And I can totally understand why, looking back on that, you would say you can't imagine having to carry a child by that person. All I can say to that is your situation proves why people like that should be killed, and it should be very public. Because you have to think the audacity the brazen mindset of a person to not once, but repeatedly harm a child. That means that they are living with no fear. And we need to start putting fear in the hearts of monsters. I know you guys have seen on the internet, these freaks are out here openly talking about their disgusting desires with no fear, openly discussing traveling to access children because they have no fear. You start killing them, they will be fearful. And that's why I think our laws should support killing people like the person that hurt you. Because if we start killing them, then the next young girl will stand a much better chance of being safe. And I strongly believe that. Hi, Alicia.
Hi, Irene. What's up?
Hey, nothing. Enjoying talking to everybody. I love all the different perspectives. What are your thoughts?
That's great. This is like a really heavy topic and it's so sensitive for so many people. And I just want to say that I do believe it's horrible to kill your child, right? But at the same time, I do feel that there
Wait,
should be a
can I
way.
hold on a second?
Yeah,
Let
sure.
me tell you something. Can I speak to my mods? If anybody at all in the chat is insulting Nava, please time them out to infinity. I mean, time them out 5 or 6 times. It is absolutely disgusting. And you sound like a monster. If this woman comes up here and she bears her heart and she explains something vulnerable, because some of y'all are pro abortion out here and maybe have had 1, 2, 3, or more abortions, and you hide that. Can you imagine the level of vulnerability it takes a woman to come and admit that she did something that she feels shame for? And the disgusting, disgusting audacity of some of you to even think to dare. I wish I would have caught this mess sooner. To try to talk badly about her. You might disagree with her perspective, but do not weaponize her vulnerability. Don't weaponize her vulnerability. Do not dogpile this woman with your venom. That's not cool. People need to feel comfortable coming up and being vulnerable and honest. We can disagree with them without attacking them. Like, get a grip. Nobody's reaching into your vagina and shutting your legs. You can still walk out the door today and get an abortion. So there's absolutely no reason that you need to attack a woman, since we're also pro-woman, right? Who came up and chose to be vulnerable in a room full of strangers. Like, come on, y'all. Like, don't be ugly. I know we disagree, but don't be ugly. Like, get some self-control. Really, please, mods, time them out to infinity. Don't just allow people to, she's not, don't do that. That's not right. And you can see that she feels the weight of that. And you guys want to mock it. That's not cool. Even if you disagree with her stance, have some empathy for the fact that she was vulnerable, more vulnerable than anybody else that came up here. Are you about to come up here and tell us your abortion story? Or are you just crucifying her to the stake? That's not for the whole room, but you guys know, those of you who are doing it, who I'm talking about. And what you do is you make pro-choice people look like nasty individuals. There are definitely people who are watching, who are sitting on the fence, and they're like, I don't want to relate to these people, sound evil. So at least represent your stance rationally. At least don't make the pro-choice movement look bad because you are such a vitriolic person. You know, you don't help pro-choice by being an extremist. Extremism is not a good look on anybody. We can't attack women who come up here and are vulnerable. Please don't do that. That's not okay. I'm so sorry. Can you go ahead and continue? I apologize.
Yeah, thank you, Irene, for defending and protecting her. I also think that's horrible, and that's actually what I came up here to talk about, is that abortion is a horrible, horrible thing, right? And so many times within our society, I always see people like shaming these women, and what I really want to see is a place where these women's stories can be heard. Because I do believe if they share their experience, their emotional experience, their physical experience, that it could deter other people from going down the same path. But what we see in the chats is like, why would someone come out and ever share their story if they're just going to be chastised and put down? It's just like, let them help other people. You know what I mean? And that's like what I want to say is I'm pro-choice mainly because I believe people should have a choice, but also I'm pro like not shaming these people who do fall into this category of, choosing to, have an abortion.
Yeah. I mean, I understand that. There are a lot of women who, and I hear similar things a lot from women who are just like, I don't feel it's my place. I don't think we should shame women either way. I also think I hate that when we have this conversation, just because it's happening to a woman's body, it's like men have nothing to do with this. It's like these
Right.
women these aren't miraculous deceptions. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like these women, somebody is getting them pregnant. They haven't gotten themselves pregnant. And I think, and I mentioned this earlier, we have to talk more about the fact that abortion is something that is weaponized by men also. How many women have been in a position where you thought you loved a man or were in a relationship with a man or you got pregnant and you didn't want to kill your baby? But because abortion's on the table, that man coerces you into killing your baby. He's mean to you. He says he won't help. Maybe he'll, how a narcissist is, he'll cut himself off from you. He'll tell you, we'll kill this one. And later on, we'll start our family.
And some men, like
Mhm.
I was reading certain statistics, and it was saying how it was saying something that was interesting to me. I don't know if I'm going to word this right, but I believe it was saying that pregnant women are most likely to die due to their partners. And like an argument that some people were making is, oh, so like these people shouldn't be getting abortions and da 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 da. And I do see that argument as well. I'm just like, pregnant women are the most vulnerable people. And I wouldn't take that right away from women to be like, yeah, you can't be vulnerable even though you got yourself pregnant. To me, I don't feel like it's my lane, it's not my place. Like I don't have to raise their child, I don't have to take care of it or be a part of their lives any type of way. But if I could make their life like somehow easier while also educating women like, hey, this is not the road you want to go down. Like, listen to all these women's stories. It's horrible. Don't be in a situation where you're killing your child. I think that ingredient in those mechanisms working both at the same time could produce results that benefit both sides.
Yeah, I think that's a more balanced approach. I think because we are talking about something that's a work in progress, right? And I think if we could enact a law right now, I'd say the one opportunity that's coming out of this overturning of Roe versus Wade, which I want to stress, does not make abortion illegal. It only puts it in the hands of the state, which means it's going to be extremely legal in some places and not legal at all in other places, right? So, this is a perfect opportunity to take a twofold approach, right? People can still have abortions, but I think if we open up the dialogue for honest conversations about why this is happening, start putting some mechanisms in place that are more supportive of women and all of those things, if we get those things going, then abortion will seem like less of um, a decision that is the best decision, right? If there are, because most women get abortions, right? This is what Planned Parenthood is telling us, because of economic reasons or because they don't have a support system.
Right.
So we can do a lot of work to putting in economic resources and support systems so that women aren't feeling that they have to get abortions because they can't afford a child or because nobody's going to help them with that child. Or, I think most women are like, I don't want to struggle alone with a child. That is a lot of responsibility. I don't want to have to worry about if I can feed and clothe a child. That is a big responsibility. So I think if we have mechanisms in place to support them during this transition period, as Roe versus Wade has been overturned, and some states will legalize it and some states will not, that this is an opportunity for us to show that we genuinely care about women by creating social policies that support women. not
Right?
support women having to butcher their bodies or take copious amounts of drugs to compensate for the fact that society doesn't really care for us.
Right. And I also see that the world is still very misogynistic. Even as a woman, I've realized that I'm misogynistic in so many ways, but that's just like the way that the world operates. And just to deconstruct that, I feel like that's really like vital and that's really pivotal. Also, I feel like people shouldn't really like say, "Oh yes, you can't get an abortion," especially if they're not helping or actively working to change the situation for women. Because I was looking at some statistics, and you touched on this earlier. You were saying that people who get abortions don't have a support system, or mainly that their pregnancy was unintended. So they're not choosing. Well, of course they're choosing to get pregnant, but they're not actively seeking a pregnancy, right? So like I feel like if you want a world where people aren't getting abortions, which I think is like a beautiful thing, then I also feel that you also should be working to make the world less misogynistic. You should also be working to make the world better for women. And until then, I feel like you have to have some type of leeway. That's just my personal view.
I actually 10,000% agree. I will say this for a fact, I 10,000% agree that where an abortion is not legal, what should always be provided is lifetime support for the child. I just think that that's reasonable. I think if we put people in a situation where abortion is not an option, that there should be a continuous support, right, for those children. And I think that that's only fair. I think that that is only fair. I think it's only right because you're right. Many people are anti-abortion, but they don't care what happens to the child after they're born. And I think if I ever have heard a pro-choice argument that I completely agree with, it is that one, because that is 1,000% true. Even some of the crisis pregnancy centers, they will provide a level of support, but after the child is about 3 years old, they aren't providing clothing, right? They aren't ever, that I know of, providing housing. They do tote like we fundraised for this person, but $6,000 or $10,000 doesn't carry a person who has a child for 18 years. So I think one of the most valid pro-choice arguments that I hear out there that I don't hear pro-life people really addressing in a meaningful way is, okay, so after they don't have the abortion, then what? And I think I completely agree that more emphasis needs to be put on that area.
And can I say one last thing before I go?
Sure.
I feel like if that was really addressed in a very meaningful way, it would also deter people from getting abortions, because that's one major thing that a lot of people agree on. Like, what are we going to do after, like a child is born, and that's what goes unanswered. And I feel like that also leads to people feeling unsupported. And if we could really address that one issue, it could save so many lives.
That's so true. Yeah. Instead of just making it a shame campaign, actually addressing the issues would go so far, and it would prove that the pro-life movement is genuine in the fact that they care about children, and not just saying that as a means of control, because I think that's how it's often viewed. So I think you bring up an excellent point, and I 10,000% agree.
Thanks. All right. Thanks for thanks for having me on, and it's been a great live.
Thank you so much. Thanks for coming up. Okay, let me bring up the next person. Hello?
Hi.
Hi.
I love your channel. I love your lives so much. It's nice to see another Black woman that's more conservative. I wouldn't say I'm conservative, but probably like about moderate. And I am pro-choice. There's a few things that I agree with you on, though, like pro-choice with an emphasis on like education and prevention, right? There's so many people that don't understand their menstrual cycle at all. So they don't even know what days are like safe days, what days are fertile days. There's people that just don't understand that. And I think if we had more education and we knew different forms of birth control, like some people don't want to do hormonal birth control. I get that. You can use a diaphragm. You can monitor your cycle. You can, use the pull-out method, which I don't recommend, but for some people it works. I think if we did that, we could reduce the amount of abortions that we're seeing. And it's not that, I'm pro-choice in the sense of, at the end of the day, you should be able to choose. But I feel like a lot of pro-choice people are like, I'm pro-choice for you can have a million abortions. And I think after the first or second one, maybe there should be some intervention, right? Like, okay, this is your second abortion. This is your third abortion. Are we using this as a form of birth control at this point? Let's address that, because maybe that woman needs more support or more resources in some way. So while I don't think there should be any laws, at the state level, like banning abortions completely, I do think there should be some sort of intervention after the first or second one. Like, I don't think people should be getting abortions over and over again. And in the sense of rape or sexual assault, obviously, I'm definitely pro-choice on that. I don't think that I would be able to handle the emotional burden of carrying a child that was conceived through rape. For anyone that has or can, I support you 100%. I wouldn't want to be put in a situation where I was forced to birth a child that was conceived from rape. But that's kind of where I stand on everything. So I feel like we agree on certain aspects, and then on just the other parts, maybe not. But that's where I stand.
Yeah, I think, this is where I'd want to have conversations like about social policy, right? Like if we were really coming to the table, somebody said, yes, I agree, Miko. More support, and let's throw that on this table for postpartum depression and parenting lessons. So I think if I were having a real conversation, like if I were a lawmaker and I were writing up a bill, these are things that I would include, right? I would include where abortions are not legal, that there be like a certain stipend. So we know that that child's medical care can be taken care of. We know that there's a monthly stipend that's going to follow them for education, right?
Yeah.
So that would go into similar to how we have money attached to our children now, but that is something that the parent could take anywhere, even if they're homeschooling. That we know that there's minimum housing, like allowance that goes with that. So it would be not much, right? But maybe you would get, $400 a month if if your income was such and such, $500 a month if your income was such and such. So it'd be income based, like housing allowance to contribute toward housing. Um, uh, as Miko pointed out, postpartum classes, parenting classes, but those would be mandatory, right? So postpartum classes would be a mandatory thing just in case a woman didn't identify her postpartum. Parenting classes, and that would be the stipulation, just like with all social services, that is tied to receiving that money, right? So there would be stipulations tied to receiving that money, but they would be things like, we want you to take a parenting class. I mean, you guys know I take parenting classes at my church voluntarily, right?
Yeah.
Or we want to make sure that you do your postpartum class, just so that we're making sure that that woman is cared for. But in exchange for making those choices, that this money for education is following you and your child, this money for housing is following you and your child. And removing the social stigma away from that. Somebody said people might take advantage of that. Maybe not, right? Because those things would come with stipulations where, if you're saying we should care about children if we won't allow women to get abortions, and we should care about women who are impoverished who would otherwise choose abortion, then we'll put those social policies in place, but there will be a check and balance, and everybody's not going to want to be bothered with that. But I also think that children are a blessing. So if somebody chose, to have children, I don't see the problem with it, especially if they're mandated to do parenting classes. If, we know that they can sustain those children because society is supporting them. I would rather see babies born than babies killed if you put me up against a wall. And then in the meantime, like interim social programs that I could see happening would be programs such as, so rape victims are a big concern for people. I could see rape, if rape was the only exception for abortion, that being abused. So then what I would say is that for every woman that comes in that is pregnant and she says that it's because of rape, she would have to name her rapist, right? And then that person would have a trial, and if found guilty, they would be murdered, right? We would kill them, right?
Yeah.
And then in that case, the woman could get the abortion. Now that's not my preference, but I'm talking about transitional policies, like things that to make both sides happy, right? And to move us to a place where abortion is phased out. So then people would think twice about lying, right? On the law. Men would think twice about having sex with women, right? Because if she decides that she wants to have an abortion or she claims that you raped her, it would just make everybody more cautious, right?
Yeah.
Everybody would become more cautious. So how do you guys feel about that? How do you feel about, because those of you who are saying, what about the women who are raped? If a woman comes in, so let's say we make abortion illegal, right? Except for in cases where the mother's life is in danger and rape. And the stipulation that we attach to rape, right, is that the mother has to name her rapist so that that person can be brought to trial. And that person is killed if he is in fact found to rape her. And under that circumstance and that circumstance only can we allow an abortion. So what do you guys think of that? I'm interested in somebody coming and telling me what they think of that, because when we talk about, if we talk about people basically not wanting these things, if it's just about advocating for the most, harmed women, then would you guys be willing to give up the 99% of abortions to protect the women who truly need protection? Just curious. What are your thoughts?
My thoughts.
Yeah. So, well, if you have any final thoughts or just thoughts in general.
Kind of broke up there a little bit. Yeah. So as far as just to prevent abuse of a system like that, I think that's where it kind of gets a little murky for me, because calling out your rapist can be so dangerous in certain circumstances. And I think just with the lack of justice that we see already right now, I don't think there's many women that would be willing to do that. You could argue that they would be putting their own lives at risk at that point, depending on who that person is. But it is a start, you know what I mean? It is definitely a start. And I would definitely like to see less abortions. But I just don't think it's fair to say, no one should get an abortion ever at all. Only in the instance of rape, and you have to prove, like, that gets a little murky to me, because
so let me ask you a question then.
Mhm.
First of all, Faith said, but how long would the trial last? No, she wouldn't have to stay pregnant for the trial. So she named the man, he'd be arrested. That initial prosecutorial investigation would be done, right? To decide if there's cause. And then, we could put a time limit on it, 4 weeks or something like that, depending on how far along she is, or depending on how much evidence there are. So we could put, time constraints on it. So if she's so many months pregnant, this is a time constraint, or so many weeks pregnant, this is time constraint. If she's so many weeks pregnant, this is a time constraint. So that if what you're asking is, does she have to be pregnant for the whole trial? Because then she might just pop out a baby. No, that's not what I'm insisting. But I'm just thinking of middle ground policies to wean us off of the abortion bandwagon. And then to what you were saying, so what about, and I want you guys in the chat to think about this, what about, as we're weaning ourselves off of abortion policy, putting limits on the number of abortions that a woman can have? So is it okay to limit a woman to 2 abortions or 3? Are people who are pro-choice open to a limit on the number of abortions a woman can have? A national database where abortions are logged, and the people who have abortions are logged. And it's done by fingerprint, the same way you do for your real ID. So you bring your real ID in, most of you guys have them, you fingerprint, and then there's a limit to your abortions. So you can get 2. I think 2 is a reasonable number, because if you need 3 abortions, then you need to rethink how you're moving about life,
Yeah.
right? So what do you guys think about that? What do you think about limits on the 99%, where you limit the number of abortions a woman can have in a lifetime? Or in a lifetime, because women can't reproduce their whole lives. So what are your thoughts on that?
And I stand so firmly on that. And I know it's kind of an odd thing. Like, I think that other pro-choice people are like, you're a woman, you're pro-choice. How can you say that we should have a limit to the number of abortions? But at the end of the day, let's look at what abortion actually really is. You guys can look at the videos that were quoted earlier. It's not pleasant. It's not, some women can't conceive after that, if something goes wrong. So I think that, yeah, there should definitely be a limit. You should be able to have 2 without question. When you're looking to have the 3rd one, let's talk about how we can, prevent this from happening again. And I think that as women, we do need to protect our womb as well. I know I'm not trying to put it all on women, but at the same time, we see a lot of red flags with a lot of the people that we decide to sleep with. So when we see them, let's take heed to them and say, I am not going to give my body to this person that seems mildly abusive, that seems narcissistic, that doesn't have a job, that doesn't have a career, that doesn't have an education. Like, let's hold some accountability for our wombs. Since we want to be the only ones responsible for our wombs and our own bodies, let's really be responsible and not be willy-nilly sleeping with people that would not be able to provide a family or provide, financial, emotional, mental support for a child should we get pregnant. And let's not be having 3, 4, 5 abortions. And someone said earlier that no one is having multiple abortions. That's absolutely false. People are definitely having multiple abortions.
I know women who have had multiple abortions.
Yeah.
I know a few women that have had multiple abortions, and by the same man. I know. Yeah.
By the same man.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and that would limit, like, for people that are married having abortions, let's figure out why that's happening. Are you in an abusive situation? Can you literally just not financially, you can't make it happen? Like, let's address those things too. But yeah, let's have a number. If you're having more than 2 abortions, there's something else that we need to adjust. Now it's not just about, the abortion, but it's about the sex that led up to conception. Why are we making the same mistakes? If a 3rd time you need to go in and have a procedure like that done, even if it was just the pill, and I'll be honest, I've taken the pill. I don't regret it. I'm not like in a corner crying every day about it, but I do think about it like, hey, what if something went wrong and I couldn't conceive? How would that make me feel? Like, these are things that people need to think about. And I think that if we have a limit on the number of abortions we can have, we'll take more time to think about that stuff before we decide we're going to have sex and before we decide who we're going to have sex with. Like, let's have responsibility for our wombs, accountability for our wombs, and for the life that we're bringing into this world. Like, if we're going to be procreating with someone, let's make sure that they can provide. Let's make sure that we want to. If you don't want to have children, there's so many ways to prevent not having children. I think once we're educated on that, we can prevent a lot. There was people even in the comments that literally don't understand the fertile window, don't understand how ovulation works.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. Finish what you're saying, but I want to touch on the fertile window, because go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, there's people that are saying that the fertile window is a myth and that it's false. I would beg to disagree from literally every medical professional that I know. I'm not saying that you have 5 days to become pregnant. You have 5 days where sperm could be viable inside of you. So you need to not have sex during those 5 days, because sperm could be hanging out in you for around 5 days. By the time you ovulate, that 24 hours, there's already sperm waiting there. And I just don't think that people understand that. So if we understood that, maybe we would use a condom for that fertile window, or just not have sex during that fertile window. Or if you understand middle schmerz and what that is and what that actually feels like, you would know, hey, I'm ovulating, or my egg will have been released within 24 to 36 hours. You won't have sex that day. Like, let's just be more educated about prevention instead of leaning on abortion so much. Not that I don't want anyone ever to have an abortion. I feel like it's your body, your choice, yes, but let's not lean on abortion to where it's a crutch where we're having 3, 4, 5, 6 abortions. I think that is like I think that's ridiculous, and I don't think that's okay.
Yeah. Thank you so much for coming up. I agree. And actually, what she's saying, you guys, ties into the what Jessica Jess was saying, limits based on all situations, including rape, incest, etc. Yes. And I'll say, because of the fertile window that the sister was just pointing out, it is actually very hard to get pregnant. The chances of a person being raped multiple times during their fertile window are slim to none, especially if you're killing people who are rapists, right? So I'm saying that social policy in tandem with the other social policy that deals with rape, right? And incest is just a form of rape. So, yes, in all those cases, because it's rare that a woman gets pregnant from rape, even rarer that a woman gets pregnant from incest. And it would be literally a minor miracle for that to happen twice, especially if the penalty for rape is death. So I think, yes, I'll have to go with that. All right, let me bring somebody else up. Hi, Tiff.
Hi.
Wait, Tiff? Wait, can you guys hear Tiff, or is it just me
Okay.
that can?
Can you
Oh,
hear me
okay.
now?
Yes.
Okay, great. Yeah. I just want to say that I'm not I'm I'm for pro-choice, but I mean I'm for pro-life, but I understand people who are pro-choice, but I think it should really be a last resort. And one thing I think, to have a lesser amount of abortions is people need to treat mothers and pregnant women a lot better than they do. You know, even married women who are pregnant. Um, some of them even have abortions if their marriage starts to go down the spiral after their first child or second child. Some women already feel as though their husband is 1 foot out the door, and having another baby would lead to a divorce. So I think it's a lot of factors. I don't think it's just so cut and dry. Of course, I don't think anybody should kill a child, of course, But one thing I can say is it's just the treatment and the lack of respect for motherhood, period. Nowadays, women are put on a pedestal for not having children. You know, our society, we don't value motherhood like other countries, For example, one of my neighbors is from, I have a lot of neighbors that are Hispanic. And in some of their cultures, they don't value wealth as money. They value children, giving birth, having big families as being wealthy. So, in order for a lot of people who, are against, abortions, and some of the same people who are against abortions, I think we need to treat mothers a lot better than we're treating them. And you can't shame a woman for having an abortion. I mean, you can't shame a woman for having an abortion, but yet, you don't want the financial responsibility of it. It's just a lot of hypocrisy when it comes to family and abortions.
I agree. I completely agree. I think motherhood, and you see this when you hear women talk, and it makes me sad. I've talked about it on this channel. The amount of like vitriol and low-key hatred that women have been encouraged to have for their own bodies and their own wombs. And it's like, we are so precious. Like, humanity is here because of our wombs. So we should love ourselves so much more, and mothers should be so much more valued than they are. But because motherhood made to seem like this thing that oh, she's pregnant, and pregnancy is like some traumatic thing, and being a mother is such a menial task.
Right.
Yeah, no respect. And that, I think that's why women don't, with motherhood not being, well, go ahead. What were you going to say, Tiff?
Right, yeah, but that's absolutely true. It's just no respect, and I think that's why people question why are so many women having abortions. Even some married women. I know a lot of women who went through postpartum, and it wasn't necessarily postpartum. It was really depression because they saw their relationship change after they had the children. You
Oh,
have
yeah.
people. You also have
I was
people
gonna,
who married couples who plan to have children together. And once the baby comes, he's out the house more than he's ever been. You spend less time together, different things like that. So even if that's family on the outside, other people watching how some marriages or how relationships change after a baby, that could make them say, well, you know what, maybe I don't want any kids.
yeah. And then also the shame that's put on women's bodies that,
Oh,
once they've had a
absolutely.
child, so you're less beautiful, and the
Yeah.
things that come, those changes in your bodies, in your body, are actually flaws. So that everything that comes with motherhood and carrying children is frowned upon and not valued. And I think these things all weigh in. If they're not at the forefront of a woman's mind, they're definitely, subconsciously they're sitting with her that, my value, my beauty is going to be lowered. Society is going to judge me. Being a mother is not valuable. And I think the other thing you were saying too about the hypocrisy, which for me is the greatest weakness. I'm pro-life, but it's the greatest weakness of the pro-life movement, is this idea
Mhm.
that, we can not have the conversation about protection of rape victims, women in poverty who are having children. How are these children going to be sustained on the long term? I think that those are valid things and points that pro-choice brings forward, that if pro-life people were willing to actually address them, it would
Mhm.
it would open up the door to a place where we don't have to force less women to get abortions. Less women would choose to get abortions simply because they're being supported properly. So I think you're right. It's extreme hypocrisy. I definitely think that it's perfectly valid for people to ask, okay, so then if I have the baby, then what? Right? Then
Right.
what? What happens
Right.
after that?
And then you have a lot of people, it's a lot of hypocrisy too, far as people who are call themselves conservative, yet you're really anti-family.
Yes.
You know,
I
you
completely
don't,
agree.
and it just, it just really gets me. But one thing I could say, far as the pro-choice group goes, um, this what's going on right now. Democrats and liberals can really take an L for what's going on right now, as far as Roe v. Wade, for the simple fact that the Democrats and liberals really rallied to mix LBGT into women's rights, not
Yeah.
identifying a woman as a woman, including male born
No,
into
wait.
women's rights.
But
And
funnily enough, y'all saw Kamala Harris, who couldn't define a woman before, all of a
right,
sudden was capable of defining a woman. Like when Roe versus
exactly,
Wade, when it came out, it was being overturned. All of a sudden, she knew exactly what a woman was. I was like, oh, so we're not
exactly.
politically correct anymore, right? Now we're
Ex-
now we're done
you know,
playing make believe.
Right. And it's the hypocrisy in the Democrats and with Democrats and liberals. Like, okay, you can't go into the far left feminism after you have uh, just given no respect to a natural born woman who can reproduce.
Yeah,
So it's just a lot of people could take an L for this on both sides, I would say. Not only that, not promoting marriage, but wanting people to have children. It's like a double-edged sword, and it's a lot of hypocrisy going on.
yeah. I think not promoting marriage, but then wanting people to have children is a very
Ah,
silly concept. I agree
that's
with
the
that.
dumbest thing I've ever heard of. And but like I said too, even with women, where I get disappointed, where I really get disappointed in, is when women, I don't, she has children. She's a single mother. Like, you're here, just because you don't want to have any children, be happy that your mother had you. And it's the dumbest thing I ever heard of. I don't want kids, but you're happy to be alive. And or shaming. I hate when women shame other women for having children. Especially, one thing I could say, far as a single mother in the Black community, it is the absolute worst. We make it's like the worst thing a woman can do is be a mother. In the Black community, nobody, the single mother is to blame for everything. Yet you want these women to have children, and then you wonder why some women will secretly have an abortion.
Yeah.
And now go ahead.
No, I was just going to say I completely agree. I think when you demonize motherhood, and then women are like, well, I want an abortion, then you've really created the monster, because nobody, if you're going to be ostracized and demonized, who's going to pick that life? So that is something that for sure has to be fixed. And I think also a lot of shame should be put on men who aren't raising their children. I think if we shame the men as much as the women get shamed, they would think twice. And that's why I think all those kind of, like, if in a perfect world, like if we could write the legislation, that's why I think a merging of those social policies should happen, like that child support begins at the earliest point of paternal naming, because you can get pregnancy, you can get paternity tests really early in pregnancy now.
And the state of Florida wanted to. That's why I say people need to be careful what they ask for. You have a lot of fake conservatives out here. The state of Florida was really trying to get a law that would start child support at 15 weeks, when the mother's 15 weeks pregnant.
Yeah, I think that I'm perfectly fine with that. I can't lie.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I think that makes sense. That's why I said I think when we talk abortion, it has to be a combination of social policies, like, and this will make the men think too, because I think the onus is always on the women. Like, so that if you rape a woman, she can go and she, like, in these conditions, it's, if you name your rapist, we'll arrest that person, they'll be tried, but you can get your abortion. If you are choosing to have an abortion, you have a two abortion limit. That's your limit. You get 2, you don't get 3. If you become pregnant and you keep your child, these are the social policies put in place that follow your child for the course of their life. And child support starts as soon as we can determine paternity, and then it's mandatory for the men, any man that's named, to take a paternity test. Any man that she names. So if it's a promiscuous woman and she names 5 men, well, you all are going to have to come and take a paternity test while she's pregnant, and then child support starts. I think if we start putting social policies like that down, men will also think twice before they're heavily promiscuous, because they know if I sleep with her, I could be called in by all of them for a paternity test if somebody turns up pregnant. And I think then there's a shared responsibility. And if we start, why don't we all go write the legislation, y'all? Because I'm for sure I've not heard any of this stuff proposed by our trashy government.
No.
This would really, like, bring us closer together, people who are on both sides of the argument. It would address so many of the issues.
But
what are your final thoughts, Tiff?
But yeah, my final thoughts is know who you're voting for. If you're pro-choice, realize when you're voting for Democrats and liberals, it's not about women's rights. It's about an underhanded way to sneak in. They're putting what are they putting under women's rights? Hormones for men. They're putting that under women's rights, hormones for men to transition. So if you're thinking that all this funding is going to go to birth control or other things like that, keep in mind that it's not all going to women. It's not all going to protecting safe sex. There's another agenda underneath of that. And as you can see, with all the support that they have, Roe v. Wade is on the table. And this, if anything, you would think that Roe v. Wade would have been on the table when Trump was in office, but here it is. very liberal, very democratic government, and Roe v. Wade is on the table because it was not about women's rights. It was another way to sneak in an agenda.
Yeah, we have to have, I think we could have a whole entire separate conversation about like the legalities behind this and like the legal implications. Like after we move outside of emotions or what people do or don't approve of, pro-choice, pro-life, there is a whole nother layer to that, which is what the government has going on behind the scenes,
Yep.
that would make them push this policy forward after so many years. And this has come up on the table for Supreme Court nominees and things like that over the past 3 nominations. And the idea was that we'd never see the day, and then here we see the day. But I agree with you, Tiff, that there's a reason behind that. But
Yeah.
thank you so much for coming up.
Thank
I
you.
really appreciate it.
All right.
Bye-bye. Okay, I have 2
Bye-bye.
more people in the back, and I'm not going to take any more people after these 2 people. Like, these are going to be the last 2 people that I take. So let's start with MC. Hello.
Hi. Can
Hi.
you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
So I haven't been hearing much talk about just on both sides because at first, at the beginning of this conversation, I will admit I was pro-choice, but then I listened and I thought about it. I was like, we do need to be more responsible as a society. And I just think abortions, when it's consensual sex, is like just unnecessary. But what I really wanted to dig into was I could have been one of the 1%. So luckily that didn't happen. I didn't have to get an abortion or anything, but I just wanted to know more of your stance on what do you think, like say for instance, if I were to have gotten pregnant from that situation, what would you have thought if say I did get an abortion or if I didn't get an abortion? Like I just want to see your opinion from both points of view.
You mean afterward?
Yes.
I mean, I wouldn't have, I would, if for somebody that's a victim of rape, after they've done it, I wouldn't even dare to speak on that because, I mean, how many traumatic things have gone on at that point? You've been raped, you've had an abortion, you're like living with both things. Like, I'm not even going to open my mouth to, my opinion is irrelevant at that point. Like, too much has happened. Do you know what I'm saying? All you can say at that point is that you feel terrible about that situation that ever happened to them. And obviously we need to push for social policies where people get killed for raping people. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the only thing I can think. When people start getting killed for those kind of violations, those violations will become less. But as far as trying to pass judgment or even give an opinion after somebody's been raped and had an abortion, it's like, I'm not touching that. Like, what am I going to say? How much trauma do you need to go through? I'm not going to dogpile your trauma by throwing my opinion in on it. You know what I'm saying? So I can only talk about, at that point, I'm going to talk about prevention. I'm not going to speak on that person's situation.
Yeah, no. And I mean, honestly, I don't know, this is maybe just personal. I just feel like a lot of people just don't talk about it. It's not, thankfully I didn't have to go through the procedures and all of that with that because that could have been another, like you said, traumatic event on top of that. But say for instance, they did try to kill my abuser. He would have been on death row. It would have took time. I think you brought out in this conversation is just we do need more reform and like more policies on like, because I don't know how to explain it, but I feel like people aren't taking it as seriously as such, like just not even rape, just like murders and just all of that, because you get to sit in death row for years and then people forget about your name. You forget about what you've done at that time. You might have reformed, you might have not. And it's just like, why isn't it happening at a pace? Why is it not? Why are more people not caring about this issue? Like, why is nobody saying anything? It's just like, oh, you're sentenced to death, go on death row. And then that's just it. That's the last thing you hear about it until maybe, hopefully, they get killed or not. So I don't know. I think you brought up a lot of great points on just the social reform of just having to just fight for more policy changes and more restrictions and such things like that.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think there have to be policy changes. I think things have to happen in tandem. In fact, you guys, I've already been sitting here thinking about it. I'm going to write up some of the things we talked about and I'm going to post it on my community tab and take a poll of like with all the things we've talked about. Mandatory paternity tests of all possible fathers. And then I'm going to find out I think it's 8 weeks. I think it's 8 or 10 weeks of pregnancy. And when the father is identified, you know, automatic child support while the woman's pregnant, the abortion, like 2 abortion limit, monies that follow the children. Like I want to write down all the things that we talked about that our lawmakers clearly don't have sense enough to think of their own. And I want to post it and I want to get your feedback on, does that look like a package? Like if that hit law, if that became a bill, pro-choice and pro-lifers alike, would we back that together? And I'm really curious, because I think, frankly, I think in this live, we've come closer to making sense than our lawmakers have come in forever. So, I mean, maybe we should just be the government. We should just, the 91 of us can just go and we'll be the government.
I mean, at this point, really, I mean, because like I said, I don't know, last time we talked, I'm just 21. I'm still trying to figure out myself, and I label myself as independent right now. And so just hearing just the different sides and just the different ideas, like, and just hearing everybody contribute and come together, like, that's just what I want, but you can't always have that. But this has been such a productive conversation and just not the same run around or just people over talking each other or just like fight. I don't know, maybe in the comments, I haven't been reading them, but I say off of social media, like I don't do Instagram, or it's just, to me, it's a lot of toxic just behavior. I don't need that in my life. I like to do other things. So, but when I see social issues, just constantly hearing people talk about it, I just love to come on your lives and just hear what you have to say, because I really value your opinion and just your channel as a whole. You have been inspiring me in so many ways, more than what you know. So thank you so much for this conversation, though.
No, thank you for coming up, and I appreciate you saying all of that. Probably more compliments than I deserve, but I definitely appreciate it, and I appreciate you coming up.
Thank you so much. I hope you have a great night.
You too. All right, I'm only taking one more guest. I'm sorry to the other person that's back there. I was gonna stop with Suda. So hey, Suda.
Hey, Irene, long time.
Yes.
I was like,
happy to see you back there.
I'm happy to be here, Irene. I was like, oh my God, I swear, every time I go on Irene's platform, I always never agree with Irene. And it's not like I'm purposely doing it, but I definitely agree with that other lady, that Tiff lady. She mentioned how women are ashamed of motherhood. But the thing is that I will say is that I understand the whole thing with abortion and it's wrong, like morally, totally understand. However, at the same time, is that okay, if we're gonna do this, if we're gonna take away these the abortion situation and we give each one like a lifespan, like for instance, if you get a limit of having a few in a 15-year lifespan, why can't we just give the dude a vasectomy, and then once he is ready to be a parent, only then it will be reversed. You know what I mean? Like for instance, the guy
well, number one, because there's a small percentage, but it has been known to happen, of men getting women pregnant with vasectomies, and also they're not always easily reversed. That's why that's the pushback I would give. But they are coming out with a male birth control. I was mentioning it when I did my community tab. One of the sisters brought it up. What about men having birth control? And it's a long-term birth control for men. Whoa. So it's something that they would take that would make them infertile long-term until they were ready to reverse it. So that could be an option.
Yeah, I do think so, because like I was reading the comments, and a lot of people, like, I think we all agree we don't want to destroy the woman's body, but we also don't want to take away her rights. But then we say, okay, we're giving you a limit. At the same time, it's like, I'm not trying to tell you what to do with your body, because I'm pro-choice, to be honest. Like, I don't want anybody to feel obligated to do something that they don't want to do, because if any, like, it's okay, I'm gonna speak to only one demographic of women, and that is gonna be the black girls. You guys know that we don't have any quote unquote sense of protection. This is where my pro-choice mentality comes from, because black girls don't have any sense of protection. When a black girl falls pregnant, even by her partner that she's very much in love with, her the fact that she could die increases. And then if the dude doesn't kill her, she might die in the hospital. She's 4 times more likely to die. But then again, I come back to what Tiffany said earlier. The girl has the baby, she's with this guy, but she gets shamed. She gets shamed for keeping the baby, for surviving death, taking care of the child, going to school, making her life better so she can provide for the kid better. But then we shame her into it. So for me, like, when we say pro-choice, when I say pro-choice for black girls, I say, yeah, choose yourself. And when you choose somebody to lay down with, you make sure that that guy is not gonna leave. Okay, I'm not saying a baby's gonna seal the commitment, or no dude can walk out on you, but really, really look out for yourself before you bring another human being into this world. Think about yourself. You have every right to be selfish. And I won't shame any woman that already has a child, but we should really learn from women who already have kids and who's telling us, single girls who don't have children, don't make the same mistake. Those women don't hate us. They are really trying to tell us something. And I see a lot of girls, they'll roll their eyes. They'll say like, oh my God, she doesn't know what she's talking about. My dude is not like that. It's not that. One thing I learned about from older women is wisdom. They've been around. They know what they're talking about. You don't let your ego of being younger than them get in the way, because I swear to God, you will bump your head so fast, and you will be looking for those girls to help you out when you don't see anything. But yeah, in regards to abortion, Irene, I'm gonna have to not agree with you. I want the girl to decide for herself. Sorry.
Okay. Well, then I'm interested to see how you like my list on the community tab. You got to make sure you come through my community tab tomorrow and look at my list and see if I can move you closer to my side a little bit.
Of course, I'll definitely come.
Yeah. And
And
I'll go ahead.
oh no, I just wanted to say this conversation is very productive, actually. I really liked it. This whole live is brilliant.
I really enjoyed it too. Like, I loved all the different perspectives. I loved when the men came up. I loved all the women that came up. And it was so many perspectives. Honestly, I'm telling y'all, we are doing better than the government. I'm like not even
I
just
know that's
I'm not
right.
even just saying that. We've accomplished more in this few hours than they have managed to accomplish in several decades. And so I just feel like, when we toss them out the spot and we, we replace them, we'll have a better handle on things. But I want to pin all this down because we had so many good ideas that came to the table. That's why I'm like, I want to write them all down because we need to have a written version of this because we can add this to our pro-choice or pro-life dialogues um, later on because it's the chances of anybody bringing up a lot of the stuff we brought up and adding solutions to it because we brought up all the same points everybody always does. The thing
Yeah,
is that we were able to think of realistic ways that could please most of the people on both sides. And so
true.
I think that this has been a more fair conversation than these conversations are because they're normally just super vitriolic and there's no sense that comes out of them except for that we disagree. So,
That's true. I think because I think how the tone was set from the beginning of the live, But then again, one thing about you, your energy is always like always neutral ground. You never really, you stand on your stance. One thing about you that I like, you stand on your stance, but your grounds is always neutral. You're always willing to learn, hear other people out. Maybe that's why nobody was biting each other's heads off, because the ground was already so neutral. You had your stance and you were standing on your stance, but you were always willing to learn, hear from others. I think that's why it's like this. I like it. I don't know about other people. I like it when the energy is like this, very neutral.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it myself. And thank you so much for coming up, Sudha.
Yes, Irina, then I will see you again soon. So yeah, I will comment on the community post.
Yeah.
And have a wonderful weekend and a good evening, darling.
Yeah, you too. Yeah, all of you guys have to comment on the community post. I'm going to write down all the things we talked about. I'm going to put them together, and the question's going to be, would this make good transitional abortion legislation? I'll title it like that, and then I'll list all the things and all the solutions that we came up with today. And I'm interested to see how that resonates with both pro-life people and pro-choice people. The last thing I want to say is, for me personally, when I think about being with a man, I always ask myself, if I get pregnant, would I want this person's baby? And if the answer is no, then I do not have sex with them. If I'm not sure that I'll be comfortable being pregnant with somebody's child, I won't have sex with them. And me personally, if I sleep with somebody, they know I'm having the child. So you need to be comfortable with knowing I'm going to give birth, period. And I need to be comfortable that if I got pregnant by you, that is a baby that I would want to keep. That is a baby that I could raise with you. You are the type of man where I would not crawl inside of myself and want to die because I was pregnant with your child. So these are the things I ask myself, right? Well, I only sleep with one person, but you know what I'm saying. These are the things before I was a mister that I asked myself. That was how I determined who I would give my body to. And you guys can let me know what you think about that. But I will make sure I put timestamps in this video. I will put together that community post, and I am interested in what you guys think in the comment section. I also want to make an apology. So we had somebody here who was commenting, and literally I did not realize what their name meant until like really late in the live, but it didn't click for me. But it was about the brother that got stabbed by that white woman. I just don't think that name is a joke. I'm not saying he was a good brother. From what I can tell, he wasn't the best person, and he didn't really care for Black women. But at the same time, like, come on, we don't want to make a joke out of somebody being dead, you know. So that's just my personal opinion. So I want to apologize I didn't catch that sooner. But yeah, I was looking hard at the picture, and I was like, is this person a white woman that's commenting? And then I realized what it was a picture of, and like it all clicked together. And I'm just, slow to the draw sometimes. So with that said, I will talk to you guys later.